My next guest is a close family friend and a stylist at Mirage Salon and MedSpa here in Norfolk. Bea, thanks for making time to be here today.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for inviting me.
No problem. I'm Zach Miller with my co-host Vance Neidig,
Thanks for coming on, Bea.
No problem.
and we are touching base with Bea Blair today. We always like to get a little background on everyone first. People seem to kind of like that. You are originally from Norfolk, correct?
Yeah, my dad's originally from the Battle Creek area.
Oh.
So mainly we lived in Battle Creek, Lincoln for maybe like 6-ish years, Tilden for about a year, and then Norfolk ever since.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
How was the Lincoln times?
I was really young and homeschooled, so I did not get to experience any of it.
You got quite a few siblings, right?
Yes, I am the youngest of 4.
Oh, so you were when they were there. You guys were just all having a good time.
Yeah. Not much learning. No.
Yeah, right. Were you all homeschooled?
Yeah, I actually have. So there's actually 5 of us. I have my half sister Nadine, but she left when my mom left. But
Oh.
so mainly us 4, yes, and my
Gotcha.
dad.
Gotcha. Did you enjoy the homeschooling?
Oh no, I hated it.
Really?
I think if my mom would have taught us more, that would have been it. I have a handful of friends at homeschool,
Yeah.
and they make it look so good.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, like they're great about picking out what to do, all the different little field trips. Like it's awesome, but it's a calling. And I hope God never calls me to homeschool. I will if that is his calling, but
So
not
you've
my
never
not
thought
my
of it?
gift.
You never thought about it?
Yeah, I think you think about it. I just, not to get crazy spiritual, but like it's something I've prayed about before, and I feel like my kids are where they need to be.
Gotcha.
So not that I'd be opposed to it, but my experience with homeschool is definitely not like how my friends do it. They do a great job with it.
That's good. That's good. I think there's a lot more materials around nowadays too than maybe back when you were doing it.
There is. I mean, there's way more, especially with online, and a lot more groups that get together and do activities and all of that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
How has the city of Norfolk changed in your eyes over the years since you've been here?
Ugh.
Good or bad?
I mean, good, I feel like for the most part. Obviously, size, getting a lot of stuff. I don't know. I mean, I like Norfolk. It's always been good. You can tell politically some things have changed. I'm definitely more traditional, so I like to keep more of the traditional values in my aspect. We've done a lot of updates. I feel like that's good. They want to try to compete with the bigger cities, but there is a reason I live in Norfolk and not Omaha and Lincoln. So it's nice that we have some of it. I'm just content with sizing and where we're at, and I'm fine with that.
Don't want to grow too much bigger because then it just,
You kind of lose that small town feel aspect of it. Not that there's anything wrong if you like the big city. I went to school in Omaha. It just not my jam.
Gotcha. You went to Norfolk Catholic, right?
Yes, I did.
Through the whole time you were here?
Nope. So I was homeschooled when we moved here, and
Okay.
then after my mom left, then I went to District 37, so halfway through 7th grade and 8th grade.
Where was that at again?
Kind of by the old racetrack by like First Street.
This is like a church now.
No, actually, some guy lives in it.
I remember hearing about that, and I think I
Or
knew that
the
you
old
went there.
racetrack, you said.
Yep, the old racetrack.
Was there a lot of kids that went there?
Yeah, there was. My 8th grade year, why I remember it, don't know. From kindergarten to 8th grade, there was like 73, 74
Jesus.
kids.
Really?
Yeah.
District 37.
My country school had like 15 total.
No, we had a really nice country school.
Hmm.
I enjoyed it.
I always remember that people talking about it, but I didn't know who all went out there. Obviously, I know you did, but interesting. And you guys, when you guys competed in sports, was that back to Norfolk High?
Norfolk Catholic. Well, I mean, like you could have done stuff, but I didn't do anything until my
Until
freshman
you
year.
went to Catholic.
Yep. So my freshman year was the first year doing anything.
Because I know coming up through like 7th, 8th grade at Norfolk Public, that we had a lot of kids coming from like either Christ Lutheran or some of the smaller schools around. I thought maybe some came from
Yeah,
from
I
that
think
school
there
too
was
to
some.
compete in
Some did
sports.
Catholic, some did public.
They could choose.
They could choose. Like
Gotcha.
I knew some of the people that were gonna go to Catholic, and so they just did it with Catholic.
Gotcha. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Right, if you're going to be in the same program. So, how was your high school experience over there at Catholic?
I loved it. We had a great class. I mean, obviously, some of my best friends, Kylene.
Yep.
I liked it. It was good. I had a good group of friends that I hung around.
With your kids now going through public, do you think that the education is different?
Uh, yes and no. I mean, it's hard elementary wise because I wasn't there. Catholic is very much they say college prep. So it was really good. They kind of challenged you to take harder classes and things like that. I loved Catholic. I had no problem with it. And I think depending on the person, depends on the school. You got to figure out what fits best for your kid. And if we have kids go to different schools and that's what's going to be best, so be it.
Makes sense. Were you involved in any like sports or activities?
I did track. I did stats for wrestling, and I did cheerleading.
Is that cord getting a little rough on you for the head? We can move it out a little bit. There you go.
There we go.
That's a lot better for you, right? You seem like you were real stiff.
Just real stiff now.
We don't give you much room to mess around here.
Yeah.
Better stay right there.
Tight leash.
We're
no.
tired of people getting too far away from the mic. You're gonna stay right where that mic's at.
What'd you do in track?
Pole vault.
Really?
I did.
That's something I was always scared to do.
I loved
guess.
it.
Really?
I did. I wish I would have been able to learn like my junior high, because your first 2 years, you're really just kind of figuring it out.
Right.
Terry Glenn with our coach, and actually he coaches still at Catholic.
Oh, okay.
He was great. But my sophomore year or my junior and senior year were definitely my best year. Senior year, went to state. Me and Nicole went. I mean, I didn't place at all.
At least you made it though.
But I made it. Yep, we made it. Best I ever did 9.6.
Is that pretty high? I don't even know.
I mean, yes and no. Depends on where you're going.
Yeah. Were you not ever worried about landing on the pole? Like, like
Oh, I did. I landed in the box. I've fell off the mat.
Oh.
I had the pole hit me before.
Oh man. I just see those weird stories where like not really impale.
Oh, when
people,
it like literally
like
snaps.
literally gets you at the
So
or snaps.
I think when we were O'Neill my senior year, that happened to a kid. He was going up, and when he rode for it to like turn, it snapped. So sometimes that can be like if it's cold and it's not right, or like if people stepped on it with a spike, well, now you have a weak spot.
Right.
Also, like not everyone knows this, but like with your poles and pole vault, you have certain weights.
Right.
And in order to bend the pole, you have to do a straight arm, pull it back, right? Some people couldn't do it, so they would take a lighter pole, and we'd call it like a fat bend. They would use their weight to make it try to bend, to give you that ricochet to go over.
Instead of
Just
muscle.
hope that it doesn't give out.
Instead of going like this. So when you would pull it back and go, you'd actually have control, be able to row it, right? But if you are doing what we'd call like a fat bend, there was no consistency or aiming on where you want to go. So you could like go here, you could go there.
It's like a slingshot almost.
kind of.
That seems a little dangerous.
Yeah.
They just didn't have the arm strength, or what?
No, I don't know.
That's interesting.
I don't know.
I've
Maybe
never heard
we just
that.
we had a better coach that
Yeah.
didn't let us cheat. No, I don't know.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
I didn't know there was two different ways. I just thought all it was a fat bend.
I just
No,
thought the
no,
I just thought the momentum bent, like as you were going and stuck it. That's what bent
No,
everything.
so you'd have your plant foot, your dry foot. You can't see it, but I'm literally dragging
You're
my
good.
foot. And then you'd pull out and pull back. And then
All
as
while you're running.
Right as, nope, you run like this,
Yeah.
but it's not a mixer, right?
Yeah.
You got to hold it still. And then as you plant, you would drive and pull back at the same time, and then invert, tuck your elbow into the pole, and then go upside down, and then.
It just seems complicated. I'm glad I just ran.
Oh, I hated running.
Running was easy.
I hated. I was fast, but I hated Hated running.
I did long jump. That was I could never do triple jump. Could never get the sequence down.
I hated track.
I love
Despise
track. It was
It
great.
was all right for me. I didn't do the
I did
long
throwing.
distance. I was like 100, 200 was my max.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No. My
100,
sister,
200.
she did that. She did the 100, 200, and 4x1. No.
Yeah.
I got to go right away in the morning, and then you just got to eat all day. Hang out.
Yeah.
Didn't have to do anything.
Right, get them to school.
Yeah, it was the best.
That's funny. Anything else about your high school experience that you want to talk about, or in the early years there? That
I
we
don't know.
missed?
I mean, it was good. I was able to make some core friendships.
Because you still have a lot of, I mean, obviously Kylene, but you still have a lot of friends.
Oh
in
yeah,
that time frame.
that we still talk to and all of that.
You hear a mixture of that from people sometimes. Like I've got one that really good friend that I was really good friends with in high school, and then the other one we kind of rekindled the friendship later. So there's only like two that I have from actually high school.
high school.
Technically, well, maybe three. Jake, I guess.
I mean, you see them, you talk to them, type of thing.
Mhm.
You know, I kind of told this to my kids, like you have friends for a reason, season, a lifetime.
Yeah.
All of your friends in high school aren't always going to be it. I have friends that I made when I was younger, friends, early 20s, and friends in my 30s. And you have that close friendship, and it just kind of changes. But all because you're friends with them when you're 10 doesn't mean when you're 30 you're going to be. And that's okay. You sometimes go different paths, make different decisions, and you just go from there. But now I honestly, I liked high school. I mean, we worked a lot. I actually worked with him at Whiskey Creek.
Oh yeah, I kind of forgot about that.
Yep.
My short stint there. Back when I had lived in the waiting house.
Oh God, on Prairie Street.
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah, no, I did. Was it starting my 8th grade year? I detasseled and rogued. I worked for Bow Seeds and did quality control. So we did that every summer I probably did it for 8 years, 8 summers. And then when I was old enough, I started working at Whiskey Creek. So we'd work both jobs in the summer. You'd get up at 4 o'clock, go work in the fields, get home at 2, 3, shower, take a quick nap, go to work at 4, work till 11-ish, go home and do it all over again.
You don't see too many kids doing that nowadays.
No, I'm going to be honest, they're kind of lazy.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong there. We need to maybe change that in the societal norms nowadays.
Yeah. I mean, some of it is, yes, parents. Some of it, I think it is hard because you want kids to take, have enough credits when you graduate high school to be a sophomore, but do every activity, any extra credit thing you can do, and then try to find a job. And it's like, well, there's only so much you can do.
Mm-hmm. Even just like a weekend thing, like outside of seasons, maybe. But
I
that's
think-
hard to find too, right? A job that will let you do that.
Actually, I feel like Lou's and Hy-Vee and places like that
Work
are
pretty
pretty.
well.
Yeah. I mean, I think even for a kid just to work, even if it's only like 3 hours a week, they're understanding in those 3 hours, this is how much money I made. So if I go buy a coffee, oh, great, there's this or that. I mean, they need to understand the concept. And
Of money.
I was glad my dad was one who he has a really good work ethic and he taught us a strong work ethic. And so at times it's hard when everyone else is like, oh, their parents just gave them this or that.
Yeah.
And when you're working your butt off or not maybe going to all of the school events or things like that. But I was very glad with how it went. And I loved Whiskey Creek. My oldest sister, Jenny, worked there. My brother, Isaac, my sister, Christy, me. Kylene worked there for a little bit, things like that. But it was fun. It was nice. Made good money.
But even beyond that, like you talk about the detasseling, there ain't
It
a
was
lot of people
great.
that do that. But like, I feel like the problem is a lot of the activities, like you talk about activities, it's gotten to be way too much.
It
Like
is.
softball alone, I was talking to one of
Oh,
my
God.
buddies, is like, or whatever sports, he's like, he does something with he's got 3 kids, is every single night of the week, he's got something going on. It's
It
like,
is.
what is going on? Like, there's other things beyond detasseling in the summer. You could go, I think the outdoor labor stuff is better for you even than like the Whiskey Creek thing. Like you can get to that point at some point, you know what I mean? But like your detasseling, that teaches you something way different that you're
Oh,
not
yeah.
picking up at Hy-Vee or Lou's or wherever you're going.
And is it fun? Not always. Is it hard? It is, but it makes you enjoy it a lot more.
Yeah.
And we did it long enough that we had our own.
You
like,
built your way up through
oh
it.
yeah, we had our own cruise. We did, and like I said, it was great.
I never
extra money.
detasseled. So I never had to. I had enough work to do. I had thistles and all kinds of shit I had to do. So.
Oh yeah, it was, and they don't like detassel like they do when we were kids. I know people
really?
say that, but you'd have to full pull, right? Manually remove the tassel. Now they have like a machine that goes through, cuts
And
it down.
all you're doing is getting a little
basically
bit.
getting all of that go.
So it's easier nowadays.
I mean, I'm gonna say yes, but I haven't detasseled for quite a while.
Yeah. Get you back out in the field.
You know what?
Walking through a cornfield when it's hot and humid sucks no matter what
I'm
it
sure.
is, though. So.
If I had a job where I could do that, I probably would. It was great. I
Christ.
loved being outside.
Yeah. I just detailed cars all through high school. So,
No, I mean that's hard still too.
yeah.
Where did you detail at?
Mom's shop,
Oh,
mom's
duh.
car lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was lucky that I was able to, that's where my job was
So what was the strangest thing you ever found?
in a vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
I found bullets. I found brass knuckles. Lots of different things. Thought we were gonna find a dead body one time, but
Did you ever like take a fake nail or ponytail and like put it in some guy's car?
No.
So then his girlfriend gets in, is like, "Who the hell's nail is this?"
no, I never did that. That would be. I mean, that'd be funny. Or spray a little perfume. Or something.
Oh yeah, there you go.
That's kind of. I think that's the craziest thing I ever found was the brass knuckles, and I don't think there was anything too. Trying to think, nothing too crazy around Norfolk. And then those all came from vehicles that were coming from like Omaha. It wasn't like a vehicle that was.
Just there.
Mm-hmm. They'd come from auction. And
Oh, and then
yeah, they'd have. I'd fully detail the whole thing, and you'd find it'd be money or. Like I said, the brass knuckles or CDs,
No
oh,
booger
man,
sugar?
I missed the.
Never
CD
did find any
days.
drugs. We thought I think we did find some marijuana once, but I think I was a little too young to
Partake.
know what it was.
I found these dirty leaves. I don't know what this shit
I
is.
found this broccoli in the back seat.
Smells like skunk. No.
No, other than that, there really wasn't anything too crazy for the most part.
That works.
Yeah, I wish I would have. It would have been kind of fun to have a nice little story, but did get to see. So Amon Green, one of his vehicles was on one of the transports that was bringing us stuff, and it was all like it had just gone through all the
All the-
upgrades. So that was kind of cool to see those.
Makes it nice.
Yeah.
Did you ever cruise Maine when it was 4 lanes?
No, I was never a
I
main
did.
cruiser.
Ah,
Why?
that was fun.
I never did it.
You missed out.
No, Mom was pretty strict.
Yeah, we would do it in the Ford Festiva red 2-door or Fiesta, however you want to class it up.
Yeah, that's what all the old people nowadays are like. We can't cruise Maine anymore. Blah 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 blah.
I
Did
was
you just
literally.
call me old?
I was
Did
you.
you just called me old?
Not you. I said the
old
older.
people.
I said older people on like Facebook. Not you. There are a generation before us
Yes.
that are like. You know,
I was just
doing
bitching
the fist
about
wave.
that to Giselle, and I don't remember what I was bitching about it. About something about cruising, and it used to be. I don't remember what it was, but I
honestly,
can't remember.
it was better. Like I loved not worrying about with the cell phones, right? You weren't worried about what people were doing. You weren't texting your friends. You were living in the moment of it.
Well, the cell phones couldn't text. All you could do
Oh
is
my
call.
gosh. Well, unless your parents paid for it, which
Well,
that wasn't happening.
So mine, when I was in high school, you couldn't text. Texting wasn't a thing until after that.
No, how old are you?
Well, he had a bag. He had a
39.
bag phone for
Oh,
like 3
no,
years.
we're about the same. They had some texting.
Not maybe my senior year.
They had it. But would you pay for it? But there was
Like
no
nobody,
plans. It was
nobody
individual.
had it. No, we had bag phones. We had the good StarTAC phones, and then the StarTAC became texting. Maybe my senior
I was like,
year.
I feel like maybe my senior year is when I had.
It
Texting.
happened really fast. So like we literally went from bag phones to
Dude,
texting.
bag
and-
phones were the best. You could
I'm
get
almost-
reception anywhere.
I'm almost 100% certain there was no texting until I was a senior in college.
we could find out.
Around here at least.
Around.
Yeah.
But no, I feel like we had a better
freshman in
high
college.
school experience than kids nowadays. I mean, you
Way
didn't
better.
you didn't care. You didn't care what people had. You didn't care what they wore. You didn't have video evidence of some of the stuff you did. You know, you
That's a
treasured
big
you
thing.
treasured your photos more, right? Because and I'm guilty of it. I have thousands and thousands of photos on my phone, right? But you had to work hard for those. You had to
Yeah.
buy that camera unless you had a digital.
The
Then you
digital
had to
camera or
develop
the other
it,
one, yeah.
right? So you really and you didn't care if it was a good or bad photo. It was a photo.
Around that time, like when I was at Whiskey Creek, so that would have been like my junior year, would be junior year of college or whatever, sophomore, junior, around in there, because I was right around 21. But around that time was like the big digital. Everybody carried a digital camera to every party.
Dude, I had
Like I
one.
went through that phase. I had a digital camera.
And you had to like hold it.
Yeah, like, hey, we're taking a picture. And like,
hold on,
no
yeah.
idea where any of some of those pictures made it onto Facebook. And
Oh yeah, you'd have to go to someone's house who had a
Yeah.
computer to load it up.
Yeah.
Mine was Kylene's house, right? You'd put up your dances or whatever. Then you'd like caption, blah, 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 blah. You know, you spent hours doing
albums.
that.
I mean, back in the
Albums.
day, like you just put out like this party, like you'd have 80 pictures just
Yep.
from this party went on there. Like that used to be what we did back in the day.
MySpace. Did you have a MySpace?
I did have a MySpace for a little bit.
Like 10 minutes to load the page,
Yeah.
Yep.
right?
My first Facebook was my freshman. So I had Facebook before they allowed high schools to have Facebook. So like my first Facebook was a unl.edu website.
Okay.
And then I think my sophomore year, then Battle Creek got it. So like a lot of the high schools got it like my sophomore year of college. So like they allowed
I want
high
to say my
schoolers to have it.
senior year,
So that would be like
07,
That would have been
07-ish,
right, yeah.
is when I got
High
it.
schools were allowed to have it. And that changed everything too. It was weirder. But yeah.
No,
But, I mean,
MSN Messenger,
Yeah. MSN.
MSN.
Everybody had all kinds of like you just random emojis or
And
whatever.
you tried to have, you tried to have the cheat sheet so you knew like
Which one?
one's this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the video evidence thing. Luckily the people that we kind of hang out with know, like, hey, let's not get our phone out for this type
Just,
of thing.
I think
just
live in the
know it
moment
their
of
head.
it,
Yeah.
right?
There's some younger people that we've hung out with that'll just pull their phone out
Oh,
right away.
that
And I'm
drives
like,
me crazy.
we're not doing that. You can delete that
Yeah,
now.
we don't need to see that.
Kai and I had multiple, well, we actually first had cassette tape, right? Of the ones you'd record on the radio.
Mm.
Then we'd have a burn CD, and it was like the same one. You'd just drive around, right?
See, I never recorded off the radio.
Never?
Never in my life did I record off
Oh,
the
there was
radio.
times I would sit there and
No, you
wait
weren't broke
until a
enough.
song
No,
was
I'm
going to play.
It could be. I just was never really into it, I guess. I never did that.
That's wild.
I never burnt CDs though. I went through my LimeWire phase with
Yeah.
ruined computers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, Mom. It just stopped
No clue.
working.
I used to have a badass CD like book full of
Oh, yeah, I
some albums, some mixtapes.
The
and-
four
Do you know
CD
who did
page.
the best mix CDs? Abby Gutschel.
Oh,
She could get
those
the
are pretty
best.
good.
She would label them boom boom music.
Yeah.
I have one. It's so scratch it won't play, but she had the best. She made the best ones.
I should break mine out sometime. I still have them all.
Oh, we have. Yep, I have them.
Yeah.
I lost mine. I don't know where mine
I think I
went.
even have some burned DVDs somewhere too.
Really.
Yeah. Bootleg DVDs.
Bootleg.
Okay. We went on a tangent.
We
there
talk
for a minute.
about video evidence as we have gotten into. We record everything now.
Well,
Certain everything's. but
yeah, certain things. But at least people are prepared when they come here. They're going to be recorded.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not recording. I'm kidding. But yeah, back to high school. It was great. I loved doing stats for wrestling. Obviously, my kids are in it now.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. It was a fun time. Me and Kai did that. Cheerleading. That was fun too. Made
You were a
good
cheerleader?
friends. Yeah.
Oh, I
was a
didn't.
cheerleader. Football and wrestling.
I didn't realize that. That's cool. So you have family over in Germany still, correct?
I do. So my mom is originally from Germany. My dad was stationed over there. So he graduated at like 17, joined the military, stationed in Germany, like the Bavaria area. He actually met my mom. And of course, then my half sister Nadine was about 8 months old or so, something like that. And then him and my mom met, got married, had Jenny, got married. And then they moved back to the States. So I had my uncle, Michael, and he married Bärbel. And Michael had a daughter prior, Rafaela. And then my mom had a stepsister that had a girl, Afian. Um, so those cousins are still in Germany now. We don't obviously talk to my mom and my uncle. Sadly, Uncle Mike or Michael, he passed away in May of 2020 from a heart attack.
Oh, no.
Not COVID, anything like that.
Yeah.
It was just
Just a heart attack.
massive heart attack. But we still talk to my aunt through marriage, Bearable. And we've gone a few times, obviously, to visit. We kind of had a falling out when my mom left. There was that kind of falling out, and you didn't really know how the family was going to take you. What did mom say? Because obviously there were some mental problems and things like that with my mom. And my sister Nadine left when she left, all of that.
Did they go back to Germany then?
They did. So
I've never heard this story, so I apologize if I'm
so
if I'm
no,
asking a bunch of
not at
questions.
all. So so it would have been January of my 7th grade year, is when my mom left.
Okay.
And then I think they went to Germany for like a year and then lived in Sioux City for maybe like a year.
So went to Germany and came back?
Then came back,
Sioux-
lived in Sioux City for a while, and then back to Germany.
Why'd they come back?
I don't know.
Just
Honestly have not a clue why.
gotcha. It just seems kind of odd to go all the way back to Germany and
yeah,
come back to Sioux
but,
City of all
like,
places.
My mom probably didn't always logically think things through. And not that I don't think my oldest sister probably had the best influence on things. They would really kind of just feed off each other. They could say, "Oh, that wall's green," and they'd say it so much. And be like, "No, it's red. No, it's green," and just kind of believe it like that. And so,
Gotcha.
I mean, without going in a lot of details, there was a lot of ups and downs, and then she left, which honestly, like, I know people are like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I'm like, no, honestly, it was great. In the fact of like not having that drama, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
Me, Jenny, Isaac, and Christy were very close. We're close with my dad, all of that. And so, I mean, I think anyone has crappy things happen in life. Some are in different situations than the others. But it is what it is. And you just kind of put your pants on and go.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. And who knows what things would have been differently if she would have stayed around. You never know.
I mean, you think about that.
I mean, even in a negative way. What if?
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like in a way, it was kind of nice that like she was just not there. I mean, we had gone and visited a time or two, in Sioux City, but it was a lot with it. But yeah, so mom left, and then that's when I started going to District 37.
Okay.
I was in 7th. My sister was in 8th. My brother was a sophomore, and then my sister Jenny was a senior.
So you still go to Germany still to this day, though, right?
We do. So kind of sorry, made that all kind of crazy. So
You're
we
good.
had that falling out, didn't really talk. Not that we didn't, like we kind of talked with my grandma and all of that, but then just didn't really have that connection because you didn't really know how the waters were going to go. So it would have been, let's see, Ross is going to be 9. So maybe like 8 years ago, we reconnected back with in April. So so my grandma passed away, and we're like, let's kind of reconnect with family. We kind of call it the peace tour, right? We kind of met up with each person, kind of spoke our piece, and hey,
Because you were there
blah,
for
blah,
quite a while at that point in time, right? Did you go for a couple weeks during that whole time frame?
maybe 10 days, 8 days, something like that.
Gotcha.
So kind of reconnected with my mom's stepsister and her husband and all that. Went around. We did try to find my mom, just kind of, before you can close that chapter. We went to some of the different places. The number we had to reach out would just go straight to voicemail. And we actually went to the church she was going to down there, which is kind of awkward when you're like, "Hey, we're looking for our mom. We're from America." But they knew who my mom was. Of course, they couldn't really give out information,
Right.
things like that. And we said, "Hey, we're in Germany for however long. Here's our phone numbers. Here's your address." I mean, but she never reached out, which in hindsight was honestly better because we got to spend more time with my aunt and uncle than in Kurtstein. So then it was nice because we reconnected and just kind of built that relationship back with my aunt and uncle. And so we went over then, and then we went over, it'll be 2 years ago in May. And then just this past October had gone. And then my brother on like spring break, him and his wife has gone and spent time with my aunt because, that was really a hard thing. They never had any kids together. He passed away at the height of COVID. Germany was very strict on their laws. And so it was really hard. So it was good when we had all gone over. So me and my other 3 siblings have gone over twice together, which was really a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Just to have that time and build the bonds. I love the people that are there. They're Anita and Martin. They have what they call the campgrounds in Germany, but Germany camping is not American camping. So it's nice having going back and being able to talk to people and all of that. I guess, did you know I lived in Germany
I didn't.
for a year?
Mm-mm.
It was probably like international kidnapping nowadays, but my mom took us kids to go visit, and we stayed for a year, and then came back.
One of those kind
One of those, which
Vacation.
vacation.
I didn't know that at all.
Yeah.
Was your dad freaking out?
I'm sure yes, but for my dad, that was a big turning point because he really then got grounded into his faith. Really started trusting God. And that's what took us from Meadow Grove to Germany. He got a job at LES, really got established, things like that, and went from there. So I always think, everything happens for a reason and you just have to find the good out of it. And
you got a pretty unique story. I didn't know some of that stuff.
Oh,
We've never really sat
lot.
down and talked about all the. I mean, I know you've gone. I know you've got family there, and we talk about the beer and the chocolates and that kind of stuff, and never really talk about how it all happened.
Went. Yeah. No, it's kind of one of those things. Sometimes I kind of forget about it, and then when you start talking about some of it, sometimes my siblings will start talking. I was like, "Gosh, this is." Oh yeah, that was pretty crazy of Mom. Oh yeah, this is.
I mean, you just called it international kidnapping.
Really. You go to visit, you're there for a year.
It definitely could be argued.
Right?
That's good.
Yeah,
so your aunt's still alive?
Yes, she's
How old
actually.
are they?
She is 60.
So he died kind of young.
He did. So my grandma and her brother and stuff, they had heart issues. So that I think was
family.
Yep. So that was kind of bummer. When we went 8 years ago, we went and visited it would have been my great uncle Bernard and his wife Gala. And actually that was really a cool time because he opened up and talked about World War II. Because growing up during World War II, all of that different stuff. Actually, my grandpa here, because he was 20 years older than my grandma, will be 101 next month. And my grandpa in Germany, who was 15 years older than my grandma, and my great grandpa in Germany were all in World War II. 2 in Germany, 1 on U.S.
That would have been a good conversation to record.
It was. I wish we would have recorded it. We wrote stuff down. I don't think he would have talked as open
probably
about it.
That's what I'm a little. I want to bring.
Not that I'm fascinated with World War II, but I do like to hear
about. It's a fascinating time.
It is, especially with having the family and stuff in it.
Yeah.
And I talked to him about some of the different stuff because we say, well, Omi is what we called my grandma in Germany.
Okay.
Omi, that she had to sell her doll for bread. Did that really happen? And he goes, yeah, yep. She sold her doll for a little piece of bread and butter. I said, did you really have to get dressed up as a girl to escape? And he said, yes. So, Hitler had done, I don't know, Saturday school, to become the ideal German. And my great grandmother did not believe that. And so basically they came to a door and it's hey, if you don't start sending your kids, we're going to throw you in jail. Well, they had to dress my uncle up as a girl. So he was one of 5 kids, the only boy. He's yes, I was only, 13 or 14, but he was very tall, very grown up. And so they dressed him up as a girl. He had a special little bonnet, wore a dress, all of that. So that way he didn't get brought into the war.
Wow.
Yeah. So he talked about all the different places they went and how actually my great grandmother, Oma is what we called her, helped General Patton with some stuff. I mean, it was really pretty crazy all the different
Wow.
things that happen. And, I remember talking to him. I was like, did it really, at the end of the war, like the Americans basically, brought Germans into the movie theater and they had all the footage and had to watch. And I said, what did you think of that? Did it bug you? And he said, I saw dead people all the time.
Well, right.
He goes, I saw this all the time. That didn't phase him. And what I thought was cool was he still went back. He got his doctorate in chemistry. He had some patents out on a couple of different inventions and things like that. So it's like, man, if he can grow up during that time, still get his doctorate, what's your excuse?
Right. Exactly. We always say somebody's got it worse than you do.
Yeah. So that was, really cool to talk with him. I mean, and he talked a good couple hours and he would kind of like talk in German and then English. And so like you didn't really, especially like when you're in Germany and you're around it, your mind kind of just gets used to it and you don't even realize you're going from the different language. And
Is that one of those where he would speak in German when he was speaking about a specific event?
You
I've
know-
seen that a lot.
I don't know. I just think maybe sometimes they couldn't, I can think of the word in German, but not in English, maybe.
Gotcha.
His wife, Gala, loved her. She was, oh, you need more dessert? You need more Coke? You need, like, we just had cake. Nope, eat more cake. Eat this. We went to Austria, and she's like, went around, and we ate at this pizza place, and they took menus, and she goes, nope, I'll order for them all. And she ordered all of our stuff and what to get, and it was good. It was a good time. So, yeah, that was when we went. And, of course, he had passed away, all of that. And so when we had gone the other times, we'd reached out to his wife, Gala, but she was actually in other areas visiting family, things like that.
Are those trips pretty expensive?
You have to watch the flight tickets because you can sometimes find an $800, $900 flight, or they can be $1,600. Now, for us, when we go, it was nice. Like the one time when his siblings all went, we rented a flat. So we just split it down. It was like $40 a night. Not really that bad.
It's
the
not
other
bad at
times
all.
we've stayed with my aunt, things like that. So that helps. But like we flew into, like if you fly from a big airport to a big airport, of course it's cheaper.
Mhm.
But I like Munich better than Frankfurt for the airport. Just people are more laid back, going through there easier. And like Frankfurt to Bleibach or Kurtzstein, like Bavaria area, it's only like a 2-hour drive versus like a 4.5. So it's just, you have more time to do it. When
Mhm.
we went,
Which is kind of the crazy thing over there. Everything's much closer. Like
it
Then-
is. It's crazy when they're
Yeah,
like,
people
oh,
don't think
2
about that here.
hours. That's such a long drive. And I'm like, no, it's not.
We do that on the regular around here.
Right. When we went just back in October, my sister Jenny and I, we went to a concentration camp. We went to Dachau, and that was heavy,
I'm sure.
but it was good. And I, was obviously kind of aware of what you'd see and what you'd read, but you still just can't get the concept. And we were there and you still can't get all that information, and just like to visually see it. Like when they were talking about, at one point there was like 40,000 people in that concentration camp.
Mhm.
And you look at the size and you're like, how is that possible? Or 30,000, how is
Mhm.
that possible? And because it was such tight quarters, at one point in like a matter of 3 months, they had like 10,000 people die.
Yeah.
Just between, execution, all of that.
And
Yeah.
disease and
Oh yeah. Disease. and-
malnutrition. And
yeah. It was crazy, but it was really good to see. I will say that's one thing I think Germany is really good about is they don't try to erase history, right? This is our past. This is what we
Mhm.
did. By showing this, we're not going to do this again, right? They, had the little timeline and when Hitler took over, when this happened, like they did a good job about like having it all laid all out. There's a documentary I watched, and it was on Netflix originally. I think it's called Night Will Fall. Alfred Hitchcock, it's a documentary about a documentary. So Alfred Hitchcock was supposed to make it. And it's like all of the footage from when the military basically started storming all the concentration camps. So they all had the cameras because they were afraid by the time the news people would come, like they would try to erase it. And so like in the documentary, literally it's just showing people skin over bones, all of that. And there was a pile of glasses. And they're like, if 1 in 5 men wear glasses, how many people does this pile represent? And that was like one thing that stuck with me. So then, like, as you're going through the concentration camp and you're reading all this stuff, and it's just like, it's crazy.
How do Germans view U.S. people coming?
It depends. I mean, I think just like you have here, right? You have your more reserved, non-reserved, things like that. You have that in Germany. It's definitely cherry-picked information, right? They're going to kind of post, one person, oh, I like Kamala, Taylor Swift likes her so good. And it's like, no, not really. One of the guys that we talked to, and he owns a bar there and all that, he just kind of said, I don't live there. We only see XYZ. And I said, well, what about Germany? How's your money? How's that? He's like, well, they think they have money. He's like, but Russia owns us, right?
Well,
we're borrowing all the money. I said, we borrow from China, right? Hee-haw.
yeah.
But he's like, you have the same aspect of, the rebel and the aspect of, you had all those farmers that were pissed because they keep trying to tax this and tax that. Well, what's going to happen is these farmers, you're not going to be able to locally do anything because you're so worried about all the purity and all the green laws. No one's going to be able to survive. So all these little farms are going to be gone. So where are you going to have to get your food and stuff from? And so I think you have, just like in the U.S., more and more people waking up.
That's good.
And realizing like, oh yeah, this isn't right or that isn't right.
At least they're waking up before it all changed on them.
Well, but a lot of it has, you kind of get put underneath that thumbnail, and it's hard to change some of that. And that. I mean, so you have it. It's funny because everyone over there wanted to talk politics. So tell me about it. And it's like, well, you don't talk about religion and politics with them, and people like, oh, yeah. But I remember.
Because that's where you brought those Trump stickers back from, right? Or did you bring them there?
So there may have been some broth there. We'll just leave it like that.
I couldn't remember how you did that.
Yes.
Sorry if that was
no.
That up.
There was a guy we talked to, and him and his dad owned his own business, and he was talking about like the taxes in Germany, because that's the thing is like all these people are like, oh, the healthcare is so good, it's free, it's this, when my uncle was alive, he talked about, he's like, no, not really, it's not that good, right? He used to have employees, but you have to pay them this much, you have to pay for their health insurance, you have to do all this. Right, the guy's like, oh, I pay 50% taxes. So half the year I work for myself, half the year I work for the government.
Jeez.
Right?
Which technically is what I think somebody did. If you did a roundabout way with every tax that you pay, I think we're at like 60% of the time we work for the government.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
when
it's kind of
when you do all the extra stuff, and we're not as taxed as many other countries.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Like think of how wild that is.
My grandma from Germany was a nurse, and she always kept private insurance because, you can say what you want, this and that, but having private insurance, you got better care, right? You got in. My uncle, he always kept it because he's like, my employees would get sick, try to call in. Oh, okay, in 2 weeks, we'll get you in or whatever, right? Where he had it, and they'd say, oh, Mr. Alamunda, come on in. We have your room. All of that because you had the better insurance.
That's what I've heard. People always talk, oh, no, the social net you can have and with United or Universal Healthcare is great. And then you hear all these stories like this where it's like, no, it's not really.
I had a client that was from Canada, and her sister or sister-in-law had a type of cancer, right? And in Canada, you can only see, and kind of like with Germany, right? You can only see, we'll say 10 patients a day, no matter what, right? You only saw so many. And you only took on so many. But because of the type of cancer she was and survival rate, they're like, nah, we're not going to take you. We're not going to do treatment, right? So she had to come over here to get treatment because
of course
no one would take her on over there.
Right. Because they didn't see it was worth the time type of thing?
Well, yeah. I mean, hey, you only have a 80%, if
we'll get you in sometime in the next 6 months.
Yeah. Unless you're hospitalized. So like, let's say you're hospitalized, then you can get more urgent care, things like that.
Stab yourself.
Right.
Oh, look, there's a tumor right here.
I tried cutting it out myself. I need to be in the hospital.
Yeah, help me. No.
What are some like the biggest or unique differences from there to here? Just a couple. Nothing.
I will say, and food, right? Everything's about purity, right? They
Over
don't have
there?
all the other different crap in their food. You know, fresh bread, you have small fridges and freezers, right? It's not like here where you buy all the processed stuff. Not that they don't have it there, but you just don't. The beer, hands down, is so much better there. I mean, beer here sucks. But
I like my weak American light beer.
It's
That's
because you
where I'm
haven't
at.
had good beer.
I don't like heavy beer. I'm
It's
a
not. It's
bitch.
not heavy because even like their dark beer tastes nothing like this dark beer.
Did you not try the one at Kai's birthday that she brought? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I tried the chocolate. I remember that.
Yeah, I remember
with
that.
the-
I
with the
still got
vodka.
some of that
Oh,
actually.
there you go. And you know, don't shoot the messenger. You don't see a lot of real obese people, things like
Yeah.
that. Not that if you don't go to maybe a bigger city in Germany, more in Frankfurt, places like that.
Places
but
where you
in
can
the
have
in
that
the
stuff more
smaller
readily
stuff,
available.
yep, you don't have all the drive-throughs. You don't have that. People are walking, right? They walk a lot more. Food's healthier. Like I was talking to a German there, and he's like, "We don't have, you know, everyone here has gluten problems, right? Very few people actually have it there. So it's more of the other stuff put in it. So people walk more. They're way stricter on obviously drinking and driving, right? To get your license is expensive. And then if you get a DUI, it's done, right? You're never going to drive again. You just kind of lost that opportunity to do it. They're very much about rules, right? Well, what happens if you drove in Germany with no license? Well, you can't drive. You don't have a license. But what if you did do it? Well, no, you can't do it, right? It's just like one of those things.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. You know, the colors are beautiful there. I feel like, I mean, I have photos, but they don't do justice to
What's the terrain like? Is it mountainous? Is it
mountainy.
mountainy?
Well, depending on which different areas you're at. But yeah, more mountainy. You can be more in the mines area. You can be more in the Bavaria area. You know, you got the Black Forest, all of that. But it's very beautiful.
That's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Anything else about Germany you want to talk about? We kind of
Mm.
talked about that for quite a while. I
know, I
didn't
see,
quite
where to-
expect that, but
No, I like it. I really wish I could go over more and see it. You know, of course, you got the time change, which
what is that time change?
7 hours
7
ahead.
hours ahead.
Yep. I honestly have more trouble when I come back
I'm sure.
versus when I'm there.
Yeah.
But I wish I could go and visit family more, things like that.
Do you plan on doing more trips?
At some point, yeah. But of course, then it's also hard because, and I'm very blessed, like my husband was really good about like, yes, go see your family, you know, he's got the kids. And I know that's not always the situation, but it is also hard then, like, you know, I want to bring my kids over at some point,
Mhm.
but then that's a big expense, right? To buy
Right.
6 tickets, make sure you have all the passports. People don't have big families like they do here. So like it's hard to find a big vehicle, and then you'd have to have the luggage and all of that. So not that it can't be done, most definitely, and maybe someday. But I wish it was just easier to go visit and have that time.
That would be nice. I kind of didn't think of it that way. That you're adding 4 more tickets, plus Kyle.
Plus, yeah,
So.
Shove Cal in a suitcase.
right. Hush, honey.
Just be quiet. You'll get there.
It'll be fine.
Speaking of Kyle, we're gonna move into that. How did you and Kyle meet?
By cutting his hair.
Is that what it was? I couldn't. I couldn't
gave him a
remember for
haircut.
sure.
We met. It was a Wednesday on April Fool's Day.
Oh God, you're gonna give us the whole thing.
I will. I
All right,
will.
let's hear it.
It'll be 16 years, April 1st, that we met. So we met April 1st and we started dating April 9th.
Wow.
Yeah.
16 years.
Yeah. I was just barely, so it was funny. I turned 21 and I always thought in my head, like, oh, I'm going to be 21. I'm going to be married and have a kid on the way. I was 21 and single. I was like, well, so much for that. But then, yeah, shortly after that, I met Kyle. And
When did you guys start dating then?
so the 9th of April.
Was
met
it?
April 1st and started dating April 9th.
It's been that long ago.
Yeah.
God, we're old.
I know. Because we'll be married 13 years.
For
this
real?
September. Yeah.
Holy cow.
Well, how old is Christian?
Well, he's 12. He's going on 13.
Yeah.
You're right.
Because he was born that July,
Yeah.
right? July?
Yeah, something. Yeah, it was July. Holy cow. Time flies. I feel like we just were at your wedding.
I know.
That's wild to me.
So yeah, yep. So at the first job I worked at, he knew the gals that I was working with. And of course, like he called for an appointment. They're like, oh, we'll put you with Bea. She's single, blah, 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 blah. And I remember like cutting his hair. And like the girls were all at the table, right? Like talking. I was like, oh. So cut his hair, do all that. And his mom was there and she's like, oh, did you tell so-and-so about your baby? And he stops, he turns around, he goes, dog, I have a dog. So he, that night, tried to call my boss at the time on her landline she didn't have. So he called his mom, got her cell phone number. He called her and got my number.
Really worked for it.
It did. He did.
It really worked for it. That's good.
Yeah.
What made you decide he was the one for you?
As weird as it was, we hadn't even said I loved you yet, but I knew he was the one I was going to marry. That sounds dumb. Like people say, oh, when you know, you know. No, it really is. Like just something about him. He was great with my, with my niece and nephews, all of that stuff. And I just knew that was who I needed to marry.
It was going to translate over to kids of yours, right?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
he was-
Well, yeah. How, and he was the oldest of his siblings. He's got two other younger siblings. So he was always very hands-on, things like that. And, when you, as a woman, and you see a guy very hands-on with kids, things like that, like, yeah, that's great. Like he's going to be a great dad.
Definitely. Do you have a more traditional mindset when it comes to marriage, or do you view it a little differently? Or how do you,
traditional.
Traditional.
Very traditional. in
That's
that
what I thought.
aspect.
I couldn't. And I know that obviously times have changed from what people call traditional.
Traditional.
But yeah,
You know what? I think find the right person, get married, have kids, settle down. You hear all these people like, oh, I'm so young, I don't want to do it. And I think you got a whole group of people in, their late 20s, 30s that I don't need a man. I am happy and blah, blah, blah. And they post all this stuff.
INDEPEENDENT.
Right. And same for the guys, like, oh, I'm not going to settle down. And
Well,
blah,
then
blah,
it
blah,
passes
blah.
you up, and then you're.
It
40.
does. And it does.
Here we
And
are.
it's like, if you know that's who you're supposed to marry, get married. Not that it's not going to be hard, right? But find the right one, get into a church, develop your faith, have kids. Like, it's just so rewarding. Not that it's not hard, once again, but
anything that's rewarding and worth it is always going to have
yeah.
fun aspects to it.
yeah. And I mean, sorry, you're not married, but you know that going through hard times in your relationship makes you that much closer, right? And you're throwing kids, you're throwing finances, you throw your faith, health things, all of that, right?
Yeah.
You just become closer together.
As long as you work on them and talk about them,
that's just it. You have to.
You see times where people just never have those conversations, and that's when
Well,
divorce
we're
rates
in a
spike and-
throwaway society, right?
Yeah.
I don't like something. I'm gonna go change it on here, right?
Yeah,
I
I'm
can
uncomfortable.
contact so and so, and I can message. I can do this. No,
Yeah.
so no, I definitely am traditional in that aspect.
How about like as far as roles? Do you guys follow any kind of like gender role type stuff for the traditional aspect, or is it more just a team effort?
Team effort.
Yeah.
But I think there's nothing wrong if you want to rely on your husband, rely on your husband. There's nothing wrong with that. But no, I mean, Kyle does a great job keeping up with the house. He helps it look nice, right? Keeping the yard nice. But there's no difference if I come home Friday and he's off. The house is clean. He's got supper made, right? It's not just, oh, I have to wait for her.
Right. That's good.
So
That's
no,
good to
it's
hear.
definitely a team effort, and I'm very blessed with that because
Yeah.
I know for some people that's not a norm. It's not babysitting kids, right? It's our kids.
Right. Yeah. It turns out it's your kids. So
Yeah. Well, and even when they were infants, I went back to work earlier on, things like that, and oh, you're gonna leave your husband with your kid? Like, yeah.
Tis.
If I didn't trust him, like I probably shouldn't have had kids with him, right?
That's what people used to give me ask me that too when we first had Christian. Obviously, Kai and I weren't married yet or anything, but we were living the first year with my parents. But I worked nights, Kai worked days.
Yes.
So, I
Well,
mean,
that was Kyle. So
had-
Kyle worked nights, and so we
Yeah.
just had very minimal daycare because, and I'm very blessed.
that was the best part.
It was, and he
We never saw each other, but-
sacrificed a lot of his sleep to
Yeah.
be the dad, to have the kids, to do that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So no, I mean, in some ways, yeah, like yes, there's girl roles, guy roles, but it's not like
You kind
oh,
of just fall
have
into
to-
those though, right?
You do,
just
but
kinda happens.
it kind of does, and that's okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. If your strong suit is laundry and her strong suit is mowing the yard, then so be it. But
It's not the case. Neither one of us like laundry.
oh, I hate laundry.
She loves mowing the lawn, but I'm like,
I hate laundry.
that's the one we've like.
You're gonna need the lawn though.
Huh?
Like you don't want to give the lawn up?
I don't want to give it up. No.
Yeah,
It's
see,
like the
that's
only
where I
thing.
would be. Like,
It's the only thing that I still have that's like makes me be active for sure.
Yeah.
I still try to work out, but that's the one thing I know
Yeah,
for
it's
sure in the
like,
summertime
yeah,
that
I'm gonna do
I
the
get to
lawn.
get out and,
You have to
and
go out.
get my steps in.
And if I'm not doing the lawn,
And I
one of
dis-
these goddamn kids is gonna do the
We
lawn.
both despise laundry, so that was one of those that we had to kind of like agree.
We're both
You
gonna
just do it
every once in a
together,
while.
Yeah,
right? You
well,
just do it together.
She
or,
does it,
Yeah, and then they're pissed off.
was the
and you're
one
like,
time
I'm
you
but
sorry,
I
I love
cook. I
you.
cook mostly. There's things we've traded off.
You do
on.
right. It's a give and take.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay. Like it can't
Yeah.
be, one of my really good friends, she stays home and her husband works. They have 4 kids, but it's never, you have to do this, this, and this, right? She goes, yeah, me being home, I do more X, Y, Z, but it's not.
It's just bound to happen.
It's bound to happen, but he's not like, oh, because you're home, you have to do this, this, and this. And I
Right.
think sometimes you get, to that, it's tit for tat. They hold it over your head. Oh, I work
Right.
more. I make more money, or I do whatever.
That
That's not
ruins
how it
more
works.
marriages
It
than
does.
anything else. Is the holding things over?
Oh,
people's
and
heads.
and you have to not do that.
Yeah.
Like we had done like our church before have done like couple events and things like that, and they talk about like you need to have strong communication. You have to talk about some of this stuff. It's
Mhm.
you can't. Oh well, like you said, I worked how many hours and blah 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 blah. No, it is what it is sometimes.
And there's gonna be times where like my cup's 80% full, hers may only be 50% full. So then she has a little bit of room to, and then the other way around. And we just,
Yep.
it's never the same things we do all the time. right?
No. Now, like when you have the people that like, sit at home and literally do nothing all day,
Yeah.
whether it be playing video games or on your phone or doing whatever, like, okay, people, let's do something.
Right. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
How did you guys decide to go down the path for children? When did that, was it a conversation or were you guys just not preventing anything?
So I remember, like we talked about, we wanted kids before he was 30. He wanted one or one on the way.
Okay.
And so we got married September, and actually our first pregnancy we lost, we were about 13, 14 weeks along. I was actually
completely forgot about that.
I was actually on birth control because I was like, oh, my period's not here. I'm like, there's no way I'm pregnant. And I remember I was with my friend Michelle, and she's like, oh, I got a pregnancy test. Just take it. I'm like, yeah. And I was like, holy shit, we're pregnant. So we had that one, then we lost. And I just remembered, like, you always wanted kids, but then after that, you're like, yeah, I really want to have kids.
How was that experience? I don't know if you want to talk about it or not.
Oh,
but
it was hard. Everyone is always kind of different, but like a life's a life, right? Like at, 13 weeks, you see a baby, it's developed, right?
Mhm.
It's about this big, head to head, head to spine, head to hands, all of that. And I think like if people, not to totally get on a different like subject, but if like
We
people
talk about it
really
all the time.
truly saw like that is what a baby is. Like, why don't we treasure life more?
Right.
Right. So that was really hard, especially when, yes, we weren't planning on it, but you get really excited,
Mhm.
right? You start thinking about this and that and names and, and then it's kind of hard when it's just taken away.
Right.
So that was hard, but I think that's where having a good faith, having a strong faith makes a big difference.
Right.
So yeah, we had that one. And then Kyle was actually in a wedding. So we knew, like, first they were going to do Jamaica, then they decided to do it in North Carolina. So like we kind of talked like, okay, we stop preventing. Can I still travel when I'm however long, pregnant, blah, blah, blah. And so then we had Kaylee. We got honestly pregnant first month. And I know that's not always the case for everyone, things like that. But yeah, we had her. And I always wanted 4 kids. Kyle, he was one of 3. He said 3, and it's like, all right, we'll just kind of see how it goes. So we had
She compromised and got 4.
well, so we had Kaylee, Ross, and Riley, and then it was kind of like, okay, you kind of say you're done, but I never really felt done. As dumb as that sounds, not that I wouldn't have been happy with just Riley. You just this sounds weird. You just never really felt all the way complete.
Did you tell the other 3 be like, you guys weren't good enough?
Yeah,
I needed
sorry, not anymore.
I had to try one more time.
So then we got pregnant with another one that we miscarried, and we lost that one at like 8 weeks. And, then that was really hard because you're like, oh, is this how we're going to really end? There was a lot of emotions, up, down, and we were doing natural family planning, all of that stuff, and we have Reed. So I found out at my annual appointment that I was pregnant with him because they're like, hey, when was your last period? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, however many days. Yeah, give or take. It's all that. And like, oh, well, just
Surprise.
have you take one? I'm like, yeah, sounds good. And then was like, and you're pregnant. And I was like, okay, all right.
How did how did Kaylee change your life?
Oh, I
Or
mean,
both of your lives, I guess.
one, I mean, you're not selfish, right? Everything is about that baby now. You want to make yourself better. You want to be a better wife. You want to be a better parent, a better person. And it really stretches you, right? You're tired. I was fortunate. I was able to nurse my kids, so that was a whole nother stretch on it, right? You're tired. I'm getting up at night. Yes, Kyle got up and he would help, but it's like, it's mom.
You
right?
produced like almost too much, right? Weren't you giving some away?
So with Riley and Reed, yes. Kaylee and Ross sometimes, like, that's why I tell people, like, hey, all because your first one's like this doesn't mean your second one's like that. But no, she changed in a lot of ways. Like I said, it makes you want to be a better person. It makes you want to be the best version of yourself for that kid. And then you kind of start learning about boundaries and this and that. And so it makes it was good because you learned a lot about yourself. And they say, your oldest, you kind of grow up together with that. And in some ways, yes.
That's something I've started to talk to Christian about that, is like, I don't really apologize like some people do, but I always talk to him like, hey, we were still growing up when we had you, and we had to learn to be a parent. You were kind of I just call him the guinea pig. I'm like, hey, you were kind of the guinea pig, just because you got to maybe do something doesn't mean Declan's going to be able to, or vice versa.
Vice versa. Declan can do more of it. Yeah.
Because now we know it's, we know more about it.
More about it. Yeah. And that's where it's like, people, oh, I'm going to wait until I have X amount of money, or I'm going to wait until whatever. And I get some of those concepts, but you're never going to be ready, right? You're never going to do it. And that's why I say have kids. They're great.
How do you see the first to the second? Was it more difficult adding the second child?
I don't know. I'm probably not the person to ask about that. I mean, I do think, once again, you just go with the flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in some ways it was harder because, okay, I'm getting up with a newborn and I'm having a toddler. But in other ways it was like, all right, I've been here. We can do this. Let's just go with the flow.
Some people said once you hit the second one, yes, it makes it more difficult. But then you go 3 and 4. It's like it's not really adding anymore. 4
was so much easier than 3, as dumb as it sounds. That's why I tell people, like, hey, if you're on the fence, have a fourth, have the fourth. Because it's back to 2 on 2, right? That even number, it helped.
Yeah. We were originally wanting 4 kids, and then Christian struggles, and then obviously we waited 6 years to even have another one. So we kind of just stopped at the 2, but that was our original thought.
You talk to people that want, like, if that 1 kid and they have 5 kids, or people that wanted 5 kids and they have 1 or 2 kids. And I think once you start having kids, you kind of know. Now, in some cases, things don't always work out, where there be struggles to get pregnant, all of that stuff. But I feel like once you start having kids, you kind of know what's the flow for you, and, have them all close together, have them spread out. You're going to have pros and cons to every aspect of it.
Because yours are more close together, obviously.
They are 2 years, except for the last is 3 years, but they're all, July, June, July, May.
It felt like for the longest time you were just always pregnant.
I swear I was like pregnant or nursing.
That was pretty much what, it was kind of funny.
Yeah. No, it was like that. But I'll be
that's why we waited to get married, so that you could, you weren't pregnant or nursing during the time
I'm
frame.
sorry. I should have just stopped.
It was your fault. No, I'm just kidding.
I liked being pregnant. I mean, I puked through all of my pregnancies, right? I had the heartburn. I puked all the time, but it was such a cool thing to be able to be pregnant, to carry a kid.
You never showed that. Like, whenever we were around you, I never noticed that you were, you have people,
I get it. Yes, pregnancy can be hard, but you have some people, oh, this or oh, that. I get it to an extent, but sometimes, like, and this is just my outlook, like, yep, I'm pregnant. This is just where I'm at right now, right? Like, oh, I had this and this. Oh, yep, I had that right away.
You didn't see it as a burden or anything?
No. I mean, it's such an awesome thing to be able to, and I think it's because personally knowing so many people that couldn't get pregnant or people that couldn't stay pregnant, like, I'm going to enjoy this blessing that I have.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And I loved labor and delivery. Granted, my kids were fast. I mean, but Kylene, same way. Like, it's not, I think, once again, your outlook on it. Like,
you didn't do any epidurals or nothing like that?
2 with epidurals and 2 without.
Gotcha. Was there a huge difference for you? I mean, obviously I'm never going to experience that.
Other than that, so I mainly did an epidural with my last one just because I go like freaky fast, right?
Right.
Nothing to, oh, hey, here's baby. Um, I did that more for the fact is like, okay, it's my last. I want to make sure that my doctor could come and all of that. But
Yeah.
I like them both either way. It was fine.
Because a lot of times with the fast deliveries, the epidural doesn't even kick in.
Well, and that so I remember going into the hospital with my last one, and the nurses were like, "All right, if you want one, like we know you, you
We
get
gotta
it
do it now."
now or you don't." And I'm like, Kyle, what should I do? And he's like, "This is you. Like whatever you want to do, I'm fine with."
But you got to make that decision.
But
Let's
you
go.
gotta make it because I'm one of those. Once my water breaks,
That's the
babies
same
are
way
there.
that
Yeah,
Kai was,
yeah,
yeah.
just like Kai. Yep.
We barely made it for Declan. So
Well, yeah.
Literally.
You know, it was funny because we talked about that because with Ross, my second, I worked till 11:30 that day. Went home. My water broke at home at 1:35, and he was born at 1:47. Barely. And
Good
Kyle wasn't
Lord.
even home. He was dropping Kaylee off at daycare, and then he was coming back, and so like it was a couple of minutes after my water broke, and yeah, but we got there.
that's good. That's good. What would you say your parenting style is? Or
Mm.
both of your, you know?
We definitely complement each other because there's like times he's talking me off the ledge and vice versa.
You seem like more of the hard ass when it comes to parenting. Is that true?
No, you know, at times yes and times no. That's where it's kind of nice. Like
Balance?
we balance each other with that. Definitely, like you said, more traditional. Yes, there's going to be rules. You know, some say, "Oh, you're strict or too harsh." Cool if that's not for you, but it's like, yeah, if you are consistent when they're younger, it's so much more easier when they're older, right?
Definitely.
So-
I think you guys have done a great job. Kids have turned
Well,
out to be pretty good.
Thanks. We're
Yeah.
trying.
Yeah.
You know, and just for me, I was blessed, you know, we were raised in the church. You know, my dad always talked about having a good faith. And so that's something I really wanted to establish into my kids early on. And that's really a cool thing is when your kids are growing up and you see them, their faith on their terms, you know, that's like, okay, well, maybe I am doing all right with some of this.
Yeah, I think having that in your life early can really help also with the parenting style too, because you can look at different styles of different ways. I don't know how I'm trying to explain this because I'm not a very, I didn't grow up around church. I didn't.
And Kyle did, you know, and going to church isn't going to save you. You know, everyone knows that.
Mhm.
You have to have your own relationship, right?
Yeah.
You got to build your own relationship with Christ.
Yeah.
It's good to be in church. It's good to establish that, but not every person in church is going to go to heaven. Let's
Yeah.
just right. Just be honest.
Right.
You know, Kyle, they just really wasn't their thing. They were into drag racing, so they did all of that stuff, and it was fine. But we talked about that, like when I don't even
I
think
didn't
we
know
were
he
in
did drag racing.
Yeah, he was. He was a junior dragster. His dad was a drag racer too.
I did not know that.
Yes. One of the many reasons I love him.
I'm learning a lot on this podcast.
Yeah. But I remember we were dating and I just said, hey, you know, this is what I expect out of a husband, XYZ. And if this isn't what you want, cool, then there's other people out there for us.
Yeah. Interesting. Did he kind of give you the same thing?
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, we right, we weren't old. We were still younger, but it was kind of like, you know, we both had exes from before. And it was like, you know, I'm not doing this mess around.
You're kind of an
This
old
is-
soul, though.
I kind of am. I kind of am. So no, yeah, it was kind of the conversation, kind of what we expect, all of that.
Yeah.
And
Okay. So did you have to change any of your parenting styles between kids?
I mean, yes and no on things. And you probably know when you have more than one kid, right? What works for one kid doesn't work for the other
Yeah.
kid, right?
Yeah.
And just getting to know their personalities, all of that, right? You can have one kid you say no to, and it's the end of the world. You can have another kid you put in the corner and they laugh, right? You have to
Yeah.
figure out
Yeah.
how it works.
Yeah. Yeah. I get you there. That's definitely the case. How do you guys balance everything with all the different activities that the kids are in and things that you guys do too? I mean,
Try your best.
kids.
Try your best, right?
Yeah. Do you try to steer them towards the same activities so that you can not have to be in two places at once type of thing?
Nah, I mean, yes and no, right? So the three kids all wrestled. We always offered basketball, just not their thing. So that was kind of nice. Both girls do dance, but that's what they like. Kaylee does volleyball and Ross does football. And then they all kind of do soccer. So yes, it does work in the aspect of like, hey, we're here with one, let's try it out. But
Usually siblings are going to be that way.
right, they
I
kind
mean,
of feed off
naturally
each
you're
other.
gonna
Naturally gonna
Be
do
into
it.
somewhat the same things.
Yeah. So and it is kind of hard because it's like club sports are very slippery slope nowadays.
Mm-hmm. We've talked about. We've had a
Because-
whole conversation about it. Yeah.
I don't have. I'm not even a parent, and I think they're too much. Like they're
It's
crazy.
good to an extent, but so many people think all because my kid was on club sports, they should be varsity. Not always
Right.
how it goes,
Yeah.
right? And I think kids still just need to be kids.
Yeah.
Um,
I do like the wrestling aspect because you can pick and choose which ones you go to. Whereas, like, if you're on a team, you kind of have to do whatever
You
the
gotta-
team
yeah.
does.
Yeah, and it depends on certain clubs, right? Some clubs are more aggressive than others,
Yeah.
things like that. You know, love wrestling. I love seeing my kids into that. But that's another thing. Like I know people there doing tournaments Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? And oh, the kids love it. And I get it, kids love it. But I think too sometimes as a parent, like, hey, let's dial it back. Let's think about this. And that was part of the reason for me with we did a couple of them, but where we go to church at, we just have church one service Sunday at 10. So I'm not gonna take my kid out of church every Sunday for however long so you can
Yeah.
wrestle
Right.
at kindergarten, second, fourth grade, right?
Right.
Because it's really not gonna matter that much in the grand schemes of it. Developing their own relationship with God and getting strong in their faith is more important than getting to every basketball game, every volleyball game, all of that. Now I understand other churches, it's great. You know, bigger churches, you have your Saturday night service, you know, an early Sunday, and that's great. And I'm not saying you can't miss, like it's okay, but
Well, it's your choice. That's what
in
you.
summertime, you know, you have people that, you know, from May, June, July, mid-August, we're nothing but softball, right?
Yep.
But how do you expect? And this is from the people that say, "Oh yeah, you know, my kids are strong in faith. We're gonna do that." But you didn't go to church for 3.5 months. How do you expect to get back in the flow or tell your kids like, "Okay, now it's okay to come back"? And I get it. You do. You want to see your kids do that,
Yeah.
and they do love that. But I think that's where trying to find a good balance with some of those activities, it's hard.
Do you ever have to say no to some activities the kids want to do, or
Yes, all the time. I mean, because sometimes it's like it's just
it's not going to happen?
not going to
There's
happen. Like
no
right now,
physical
there's
way to-
no, yeah. Or
What's
I wa-
something you've had to say no to?
that like the kids' little track session,
Mm.
right? But it was like, okay, we have soccer Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we have dance, and we have, you know, if we're doing church night Wednesdays. Now we have to then throw in, you know, this on Mondays and whatever nights. Like sometimes it's just not going to work.
I think as a whole family, you might need a night home.
And you do need that. Like
Yeah.
honestly, like my favorite weekends are at home with the kids, right?
Yeah, I would completely
Watching
agree.
the new Moana or whatever, right? I'm not paid to advertise that, by the way. But if you want to pay me to advertise that, please feel free. You can do that. But that's some of my best things I love.
Yeah.
I'm not saying date nights aren't important. They
Yeah.
are. But when your kids are young, like be home with them, right? Don't be going out to the bars all the time. Don't be doing all that. Just take that time with them because I look at my oldest. She's going to be 11. And it's like, what happened to that time?
Yeah,
And she's going to go into 5th grade. She'll be out of the house before I know it.
yeah. I keep looking at like I have less years left with Christian than I.
Right?
Yeah.
I look at my my baby niece, I call her, my oldest niece. She is a freshman in high school, and they go to Tilden, and Tilden girls made it to state basketball.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And she plays varsity, all that. And so being able to watch her was really cool.
They won, didn't they?
Second.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I know. But it was good. It was good. It was just down to those last few minutes.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
But like I look at her and then my sister Christy, who their youngest is now 8 months. And I remember watching Ashley at that age. And it's kind of like you look at him and you're holding him and you're like, oh my gosh, how is Ashley to this point just so grown up, very
Yeah.
responsible, things like that. I mean, it just happened.
Kaylee's super I think she's very mature for her age.
She is. And I feel like when you're in the thick of having your kids and they're young and they're going, you're kind of in survival mode, right? You don't
Yeah.
always enjoy as much as the stuff. I'm sure there's stuff with Declan that you take in more that you didn't with Christian.
Oh, 100, I was 100% able to take in a lot more with that. And you can see that in their personalities too.
Yeah, and it's like, so it's just weird because all of a sudden, and people tell you like, oh, they grow up before you know it. But it's true. Like before you know it, your kids are there, and it's kind of that bittersweet.
Declan also gets more discipline than Christian got at the ages that he's in. Because it was more like, Christian and I were hanging out when he was younger.
And both probably still being younger and having, some of that.
So,
I will say I feel like we're pretty consistent when it comes to kind of like how we disciplined with the kids in some of that way, which is good. But I feel like we really try to keep it pretty even with all of it. Each kid gets their own little thing here or there.
That's good. That's good. Anything else on the kids or marriage, or do you have any marriage advice for people? You guys have a pretty strong marriage.
Yeah, you have to communicate. And you have to invest the time in your marriage, right? Get off your phones, talk at night. Don't be watching, let's just say, don't be watching shit you shouldn't watch. Don't be reading shit you shouldn't read, right?
Yeah.
You should be about your spouse. And people can say, blah, 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 blah. Be committed to your spouse. Take that time, because when you get married, it's them. And when you have, for instance, oh, you didn't do this, and this, instead of turning away to them, look, hey, I'm sorry. Yep, I was busy. I was this, right? Not that it is easy, but I think you have to invest in your marriage, and you have to communicate through that. And yeah, guess what? You can have uncomfortable conversations. You can have hard conversations, but you have to have them.
Definitely. Are you one that sees your spouse over your children?
Yes, because if you and your spouse don't have that, how can you parent together?
Right.
Right. So you got God, spouse.
I get a lot of flack
Kids.
for having that concept. Oh, your children should be the first thing. I'm like, no.
Okay, and then what happens when they're out of the house?
Well, that too. Yeah.
Right.
And that's why you'll see a lot of marriages end when the kids are gone. It's like, oh, we didn't really ever have a
actual relationship.
We were just surviving every day with the kids.
And that's where you have to make that time. And it might not be, you get to different financial times, and it's hard not to compare. You're like, oh, they're going on vacation, or oh, they're doing that. You know what? Something as simple as kids go to bed and you watch a show together.
Yeah.
Going out by the fire pit. Simple things
Vacations
like that.
Are overrated.
They're great, but it's not like you have to do them all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we get stuck in social media, right? Oh, this person's a better mom. They did this, and this, and I'm guilty of it. I should be making more from scratch. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. You have to stop.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Because, not everybody you can't do everything. And
No.
not everybody's finances are the same. Or maybe they are, and you just put things in a different way. You invest in different things differently than they do. Maybe they're going into, we talked about people going into $5,000 in debt just to go into Disney World every year.
Wild to me.
I think that's where it's like, we're a little Dave Ramsey, if you want to say that, right? Don't have the credit cards, don't do all of that. But I think it's like at some point everyone makes dumb mistakes, right?
Yeah.
And then you learn from them. And you're like, I ain't going back to that.
Right. Or they keep making them.
Yeah,
make it look like they're
trying to keep up with the Jones, but the Jones are broke too, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where you have to be like content and be content in your marriage. Because I think that's where it can be like, oh, well, he bought her flowers and he gives her back rubs and he does. Shut up, right?
Yeah, we get.
Don't tear your spouse down in front of people.
Yeah.
Build your spouse up.
100%.
And it's no one else's job to know what's going on in your marriage,
Right.
And I do.
It's no one else's job to know what's going on with you personally.
Well, yeah, but
know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
like you have those people that are like, oh, he's so dumb and blah, 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 or she's so XYZ. And it's like, God, are you even happy?
Right.
Sometimes you talk to people and they talk about their marriage and it's like, do you love each other?
Right.
Do you? Because
Right.
I'm not feeling that.
Right. Yeah, I can definitely see that.
And you do, like, there's like we've had times in our marriage where things are easier than others, right? And times where things are tougher. I mean,
You're always gonna have the ups and downs, ebbs
ups and
flows.
downs, and yeah, Kyle's probably going to roll his eyes, but finding intimate time for each other.
Yeah.
You have to do that.
Yeah.
Yes, might not always be in the mood, or it might not always, but you need that connection
Yeah.
because it's a stress reliever for both, right?
Yeah.
You get
and it's
connected.
not all
you're
of
back
it, but it is a key piece of having that relationship.
it is.
Otherwise, you're roommates at that point with
It
kids.
is. And I think that's when people get in the slippery slope of probably looking at things they shouldn't, or starting to communicate with people and
Yeah.
probably they shouldn't, right? You start crossing those boundaries.
Right.
And if you cross a little bit and a little bit and a little bit before you know it.
Well, it's like
So
the whole
you're way
take an
away.
inch, you try to get a mile later. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. You want to talk about your career now? Want to go down that path?
sure.
What? When did you decide the career path that you're on now?
I always liked doing hair and stuff like that. I remember this is when we lived in Lincoln. I remember going to our birthday party. I probably was 5. I also threw up at that birthday party,
Mhm.
but I remember wanting to do everyone's makeup and nails, for pretend. And then, going older when in high school, I was like, oh, do I want to be a teacher? Do I want to be a nurse? Do I want to do hair? And I'm really fortunate. My dad was always really good about find a job that you can see yourself doing 30 years down the road. Not just, oh, it has to be this or it has to be that. So that's kind of when I looked into doing hair, becoming a cosmetologist. And so I went to Zanon in Omaha. I had to do 2,100 hours of education. I think now it's 1,800. They lowered it.
Why'd they do
So
that?
much harder back in the day.
I don't, right? I don't know state-wise why they did it, but, and it's not like it was, so I went back in 2007 and I just went straight through. I got as many hours as I could, so I was done in a year.
Oh.
But it was like, back then it was like 16,000 for school, and then it was like 1,500 or 2,500 to get all of your tools. So it's not like it was super, super cheap. I mean, now I think it's like 24,000, 25,000. I mean, it's not like it's just a cheap thing. And some people are like, oh, I don't know what I want to do. I'm just going to do hair. I'm going to,
Mhm.
or they do it and then they never get licensed. I'm like, that's a lot of money to just
Throw away.
throw away. So yeah, then
How did you decide on that school?
I looked at a couple of different schools. I just wanted to get out of Norfolk a little bit, and it was a nice school. It had a nice area for spa side, nails, hair, and you had a lot of younger people coming, so I could get a lot of hands-on stuff.
Nice. That's good. Probably Omaha would probably be a better area. You could probably get more clients coming in.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I always tell people. There's people I went to school with that I would
Or
have never
maybe a more
let.
diverse group.
Yeah, I mean, there was people I would have never let touch my hair that I went to school with.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get whatever you get out of that education, right?
Right.
No matter what school you went to. But I wanted to get as much hands-on stuff, whether it be, formal updos, colors, your perms, your nails, all of that as I could.
That's good. So that school's still around?
It is still around.
Good.
Yep. There's Zanon and Capitol in Omaha, and then there's College of Hair Design. There's 2 locations in Lincoln. I think there's a Joseph's there. There was.
Do we still have a Joseph's here?
Yep, there's still a Joseph's here. I
There's
looked at
Zanon and Grand Island.
Grand
isn't there?
Island. So I looked at Grand Island because that was the first year that one opened up. But I did Omaha, which was better in hindsight for me. I looked at one in Fremont. It was Bonner. Now it's LeJames. I looked at that one, but
Interesting. Now, are you so you said you started at a different place than
yeah,
you are now?
I worked at a different salon. It was called ESP. I worked there for a couple of
yeah.
years. Yep, that's where I met Kyle at.
Okay. Is that one still around?
No, she just does it out of her house.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So, but I worked with a couple of gals that did it. One is still in town and she's at Trio, and the other one is in Omaha, and she doesn't
Gotcha.
do hair anymore.
So you went from ESP right to
To Mirage. Yep, because I just was there 14 years in
That's wild to
January.
think about, too.
Yeah.
For some reason, I always think of you as just always being at Mirage, but I kind of forget about the ESP.
Mirage is the best.
So now, are you a contracted
No,
employer?
I
or
do. I
employee?
do commission there.
You do commission there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So you're actually an employee.
I
of
am an
Mirage.
employee. Yep.
Do you guys do contracted work? Is there any contracted stylists?
Nope. Stylist wise, no. And there's nothing wrong if people want to rent their chair. There's nothing wrong with it. I just don't have a desire to do it.
What do you think's the better route?
You have to do what's best for each person. For me, renting would not be my thing. You know, I am very blessed. You know, Jamie and Sharon do a great job. They've always been really flexible with my schedule. They've always been great about giving me, you know, all the education. I have a great clientele. And I love working at a spa, right? Salon and spa.
Yep.
So whether it be, you know, you want to get your nails done, you want to get facials, you want to get, especially with being like a med spa, if you want to get any of your injectables, you want to do massages, all of that, we have that there. And I like that my clients can get everything they need at one stop.
Yeah.
And you know, owning a business, it's not rainbow and sunshine. You know, I think so
What?
many people, yeah, right.
No shot.
They think, oh, I'm gonna, you know, do this and make all this money, which great if you can, but you know, back bar, that's expensive. Your product to sell, that's expensive. And I'm very blessed because Sharon and Jamie, we use very high end quality,
Yeah.
high end quality color, everything from your back bar, what we sell.
Is that something they decided to do out of the gate when they first started?
Yes, they always were about quality,
Gotcha.
high end quality, you know, and not that there's anything wrong if you're using other brands, just to them, they wanted to have, you know, have you educated, use your good products, all of that stuff.
Well, things last longer, right? Doesn't the color last longer?
Yeah,
Things like that.
it is. Oh yeah. But,
Yeah.
you know, when I'm done with work, I'm done with work, right? Not that
Yeah.
I don't have clients that will message me and you set stuff up, but I'm not worried about doing payroll. I'm not worried about my taxes. I'm not worried about putting in this order and doing all that stuff. And you know, from your own business, I mean, you still have to maintain where you work at, right? The yard, things have to be cleaned. You still have to get payroll. You have to run all this other stuff, right? Your brain doesn't shut off.
No, and I'm coming to find out that that's becoming a problem.
Yeah, and it is. It's hard to
Just
find
physically
that.
and mentally.
Yeah, you have to find that balance. And that's for me, I'm just content not doing that. Once again, if people want to do it, great. I don't want to. And I feel like sometimes, you know, not that I'm not going to say all these places are like that, but some places you get to renting and right, you're your own. You don't have that team atmosphere anymore, you know,
Right.
and I do like that.
Because when you're renting, you're kind of your own entrepreneur. You're just renting a space.
Yeah, yeah. And I know, like I said, I know people that rent and they're really close and they work great as a team. That's
Mhm.
not it. It's just for me, I like
Yeah,
I like where I'm at.
everybody's got their own thing. And
Oh,
you
yeah.
just went recently. You changed your hours a little bit, right?
After my fourth, I switched my hours. So I
Gotcha.
was still doing nights. And then after I had Reed, I just switched. So I just do, and that's like, they've always just been really good with me. So I do Mondays and Fridays, 8 to 5, and Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 to 1.
So you get Wednesdays off.
Wednesdays are my day off. Yep. But
That's nice.
still running around doing all of that stuff.
But you've been there long enough. I mean, they, you know,
Oh yeah. And
probably
and
had
they've
no
been,
qualms with that.
No, and they've been really good. Like with all the people, they all kind of have their own custom schedule. You know, some of them that are coming back from having kids or just starting to have kids. Like, hey, how can we adjust it? How can we make it an easy flow? Things like that. That's why I said, like, I'm really blessed to be where I'm at because they're established. They help you, right? They truly care about what's best for you, and you don't always get that all the places.
Right. Were you pretty excited about the change to the new building?
Oh, it's great. It was nice, you know, because we started off in that little small one, right, where Mirage was at. And then our med spa started expanding. So they moved to the end of the bay. That used to be Dave Timmerman's spot.
Yep.
But then it was like two different locations, went here, went there. And so it was nice when we were back under one roof.
It's a nice building.
Oh, it's a beautiful
Super. I've only
building.
been in there a couple times, but
Yeah, it's really.
usually to get Kai something.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, it's nice. And I like I said, I like us all being right there. Because you do.
Yeah.
You'll have people that'll be like, oh, I'm going to get my hair done and then get a massage and do that. You know,
Yeah,
it's
make a
just-
full day of it.
make a full day of it.
That's good. So you do more than just the hair. You do the nails. You do
I-
the injectables.
Hair, I do not do injectables.
Oh, you
Nope.
don't. I thought for some reason, I thought you had gotten licensed on that stuff.
Nope. So I do like hair, nails. I've done makeup applications. I do some body waxing. But that's what's kind of nice is like we have our estheticians that do different things. Kelly Juden is actually one that comes in and she does our Botox and Juvederm.
Gotcha.
And then we have an RN, Samantha, that works, and she does different services, as well as Miranda. She's an esthetician. We have Sonia, we have Sarah, and Casey that do all of the skin stuff. And then salon side, we have Karina, Aspen, Ashton, Chastity, me, Jamie, Sharon, and then of course Matt is our massage therapist.
Yeah, you guys have a full. I mean, you guys got a lot of people in there. I didn't realize there was quite that many.
Yeah. And then we have a couple of gals that come in and reception as well.
You guys definitely need that.
Yeah,
I know
it
a lot
does
of
help.
places
That,
use the stylist as the receptionist.
So yeah, that was one thing that was nice when we started kind of hiring more of a receptionist role, especially getting a new building. You didn't realize how much time it saved you, but not having to walk away and pick the phone up and do all of that, just having that makes it easy.
That is good. That is good. What are some struggles that you face in this industry?
I can get it from Amazon. I can do my box color. And I understand everyone's beauty budget is different, right? I would never want you to stretch out or do it, or so-and-so can do it for cheaper. I'm sure you get that with insurance, like someone could do it. And that's fine. Like, that's cool. It's hard because so many people, like, especially with AI, they bring in all these photos. Like, oh, I want this and this. Like, yeah, this is great, but this isn't possible because it's not real, right?
Yeah.
This isn't a real person. Your hair is not going to look like this.
You get that a lot?
A lot, especially a lot more now.
You ever had to tell somebody, your head's not the style for this haircut?
Oh, yeah. And I would rather be upfront with my clients, like, hey, this is going to compliment you more, you know, if we did this or we did that, or I wouldn't recommend this because of that, right? When you first start out, it's really hard because you want to please everyone. Like,
right.
Oh, and then as you get more experience and
Learn
have
you
that,
can't.
you can't. And it's like, okay, like, hey, someone is, you know, box color black over black over black, and I want to be platinum blonde. Hey, your hair can't handle this. We can do this, this, and this, and this is the steps we can take you to get you here. And then be like, oh no, I'm going to go to so-and-so, and then they come back and their hair is trashed. Well,
you can also ruin your hair with too much color.
you can. I had this gal, she ended up telling me she tried bleaching it herself like 3 different times with like 30 volumes. So you have little lightener thing, right? You have your lightener, you have your 10, 20, 30, 40. So more aggressive is up higher, right?
Yeah.
Did that multiple times. Her hair was black, and like you touched her hair and it was literally like snotty feeling, and it just pulled apart. Like it just broke. You can literally just melt your hair. Same thing with high heat. Like you can literally melt your hair off. I always tell people, like, and not to sales pitch, but like, hey, do you put thermal protector on your hair before you blow dry, flat iron, things like that? Well, no. Well, when you have something hot in the oven, do you touch it with your bare hand? No, you put something on to protect it.
Yeah.
Same thing with your hair. You need to have that protection because otherwise you're just going to melt it off.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. What are some common misconceptions about your industry?
You know, some of it is, oh, I heard dirty hair is better for updos. And they come with like this super greasy hair. Like, hey, if you can wash your hair the night before and it's great, yeah, let's do that. But, or, you know, I heard color's better with dirty hair. No, come with it clean, right? Because the type of colors you use, you want it to penetrate good.
Right, because if you have too much, I mean, obviously I would assume the color wouldn't penetrate with too much oil.
So like back in the day, colors were really, really strong with all the ammonia, things like that. And so like, oh, the dirty hair kind of probably maybe protected the hair. Well, color has come such a long way. Like we don't need that.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I think most people can say, like, dude, just wash your hair, right? It's been a week, or you came from the gym and it's sweaty and drenched. Come on.
That's funny.
You know, what drives me crazy is people always like, oh, it must be nice to play with hair all day. Like, this is my career. I work hard for what I do. I worked hard to get where I was at.
Yeah.
You know, we're just dumb, uneducated, not smart. I've had so many people, like, when I say, hey, yeah, my one sister's an RN, my other sister's an x-ray tech, and she's a clinical instructor. My brother's an electrical engineer, and you kind of name off all these other things. And like, oh, and you just do hair. Yeah. Yep. I just do hair.
Yeah. That's not very nice.
And it is what it is. Like, it's
do.
Good
right,
Lord.
you just do. Yeah.
Oh, bless your heart.
Bless your
bless your heart.
You know, and I have really good clients, and I'm blessed with that. And you go through hard times with that. You really you form a relationship with them, right? You go through their divorces, their marriages, their losses.
I've always said you're like a bartender. You know, you're their therapist for that, however long they're there.
Yeah. Yeah, basically. And it's sometimes like for people to come in and to talk and have that non-biased opinion, like that's just it. And I'm one of those, like, I tell people time and time again, what you say behind the chair stays at the chair, right? It's like just confidential. Don't talk about other people's business, right?
Yeah.
So I'm the type of person, I despise getting my hair cut, and I don't like talking. Like
That's all right.
I just don't. I don't like people when I go somewhere and somebody's trying to talk to me while cutting my hair. It's just like it's almost like they're trying to stab me in the ears. Like, just leave me alone. Please leave me alone.
And I have clients that, like, that's their
I
time,
hate it.
right? You just relax, you don't talk, you don't do it. And they have other clients that want to catch up and they want to hear everything.
I've always felt it makes me feel so awkward because, like, I'll talk, but I don't want to.
You don't want to.
But I
Do
can't.
you consistently go to the same person?
No, not all the time.
Well, there you go. You just
But
you
even
need-
the people that I like that I go to, I still don't want to talk
Still
to
don't
them
want to- but I mean,
while
like,
they're cutting my hair.
you just say,
I
hey,
will
do the
talk to
usual and zone out,
I'll talk to you before we start cutting and after we're done cutting.
but not midway.
I hate it. I don't know what it is about me. It just messes with me bad.
You know what's really awkward is when you are washing someone's hair and they're like staring full eye contact at you,
Right
like,
at
just-
you.
or like that feels good. And you're like, okay, stop with the noise now.
I've never had my hair washed. I don't know if I could. I think that would be, it'd be weird to me.
Would it?
One of those vulnerable spots.
I'm a bubble person though too, so I think that's part of it.
That's-
Like, I
yeah.
don't like people in my bubble, and so
Surprised you can
prob-
even sit there for the time to get your hair cut.
It's not something I'm. That's why I don't like going to places where I have to set an appointment because then I know that appointment's gonna be there. So I like to do it like
Spur
I
of the
like how
moment.
walk-in place. Like,
No.
that's the way I like
That's
to
how
do
you-
it because I need to, like, oh, I got time to do it. Let's go do it now.
Well, no, most of mine are all pre-books. I mean, not that
Yeah.
I don't have openings here and there, but
Yeah.
no.
Being in the service industry, I'm sure you've come across some horror stories. Is there one or two that you can share?
Oh gosh.
I know we just talked about not speaking about things, but
So this
You
was
don't
that,
gotta name any
this,
names or
no,
anything.
this was that my first job. There was this man that came in, and you know, at the time, and you're young, and it's like I should have
Kyle.
said no. Yeah, Kyle. No. And I had to wax him. I gave him like a bikini wax.
oh,
And it was so like,
I guess you don't offer those anymore.
it was the only time, and I'm like, I don't know
Nah.
why I did that. He had off-white whitey tighties. He was definitely excited the whole time. I saw weird side ball. I remember calling Kyle. I'm like, I don't know if I just cheated on you or what. Yeah, that was definitely something that has really
Stuck with you, apparently.
Yes, it did. It did, and that was at my first job. You know, I've had other times people
Wouldn't
come
you
in.
want to, like, put your Sunday best underwear on if you were gonna have
He's
that
a
done?
You
he's
would
a
think.
he's a weird guy. The guy who he's a different duck. We'll just say that.
Funny. Any other ones? That one's probably gonna take the cake, but
yeah. I mean, I've had a couple of brides cry before,
Mm.
but I
because
mean,
of something you did or just in general?
I think overwhelmed at the time. You know, you're
Gotcha.
overwhelmed. You have all
Too
this
much stuff going on.
Yep.
Have you ever had anybody just come in and just berate you for something
yeah.
that you did?
Yep. And you just, I apologize. I'm so sorry. Even if, you know, you're not in the wrong. And that's where you can have a thorough conversation, like consultation. This is what it is. You have X, Y, Z. Some people just aren't happy.
Yeah.
You can give them exactly what they want.
And then it doesn't look good on
And
them.
then,
and then
yeah.
they're like,
Well,
oh,
or
no.
it's just, you know, that's why sometimes pictures are nice. Cause it's like, hey, I can do this. It can look like this, not like this, but
Yeah.
that's not always how it works. And that, like I said, I mean, I think you have some people, it's just looked down. Like you're just uneducated. It's just something you do.
Have you ever turned any clients away or had to? We're just not a good fit anymore,
Yes, there's times when you use the term fire, but
Yep.
when it's like, hey, we're just not, you know, seeing eye to eye, our vision's not going. You know, I really feel bad. I wish we could do more. I think, you know, you'd be better off with another fit.
Gotcha. We do. I mean, almost in any industry, you see that.
Oh yeah, and
Anymore.
that's where I'm like, and I've said this time, but I am really blessed with our owners because they back us up, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, these are my girls. You're not going to talk to my girls like this. Like,
Yeah.
my girls aren't going to be treated like
Well,
that.
if you got good quality people working for you, you shouldn't have to worry about not being able to back them, right?
Correct. But, and you do, you have different people, and that's just anytime you have something you deal with people, you're going to have that. I mean, I had that obviously when I worked at Whiskey Creek or when I bartended, things like that, right? You're going to have conflicts. People,
Yeah.
sometimes they don't like you. That's fine.
Have you, through your time as in your career, have you stopped taking different genders? Have you always done both? Does it matter to you?
My books are always open to new clients all the time, right? So
I've just heard some female
some
stylists
some
have
will
stopped
say, "Hey,
taking
I don't
men.
like clipper cuts anymore. I just want this." Or you have some people like, "Hey, I just want to be a blonde specialist. I just want to be an extension specialist." Like, that's cool. I really like to variety. I like that I can do hair and nails and have the full. I have clients where it's the full family, right? I do the husband, the wife, the kids, all of that.
That's cool. That's cool to hear. I just know that I've heard some stories where some
And
have-
yeah, some don't like. And I'll be honest, some people come in and there's some amazing barbers out there, right? That
Mhm.
can do some awesome fades. I'll be upfront saying, hey, I can't do this, but I can do this.
Yeah, makes sense. On the flip side, do you have any heartwarming or amazing stories that have happened over your career?
Oh, I mean, I think, like I said, time and time again with your clients, whether it be clients that have struggled for years to try to get pregnant or even lost kids and then, were finally able to have their own and keep and things like that. Or, the client that was single for a long time and finally found the right one. Or, I've had clients that have gone through chemo,
Mhm.
and being able to go through that time with them and then have that successful outcome. They really are like your family, right? You get close with them, you get to know the nitty gritty, the whole shebang. And so you really celebrate that time. And I mean, I say it again, I have really good clients.
Yeah.
I really do.
That's good. If you could go back and give just yourself some advice before you started your career, what would it be? One piece of advice.
Don't worry about what other people think.
There you go. What is the best part about your profession? Obviously, it's probably going to go back to the same things, the stories.
The
people,
stories yep. I get to talk all day.
Yeah.
I like to talk. I'm a talker. My husband is not. Like, I could talk all day and get home and still talk.
No.
Right?
Never.
way.
Never.
Not
I mean,
you.
I think last Wednesday, Kai and I were on the phone for like 2.5 hours, just randomly.
Yeah, I pretty much know if
BSing.
you guys are on the phone, I'm not getting to talk to my wife for at least an hour. At least at minimum.
At
an
least,
hour.
yeah. Between me and Samantha and all that, or I call like Michelle, all that. Yep. I like to talk. That's
Yeah. Which is good. It's good for you guys to catch up. I just know that if I need something, I'll just say it. Interrupt the phone call. Usually I would.
because otherwise it's not going to.
Otherwise, I'm not going to get
Yeah,
that in.
yeah.
And I'm like, she'll understand. And we talked about that already. Do you see? So you've been at the same salon for a long time.
Yes.
Is that a norm in the industry?
No, not always.
Okay.
You have some that do, but you'll have a lot that they jump around.
Yeah.
And which is fine. Like, some people are like, hey, and now I want to rent, or they move different areas. That's fine.
Is there a lot that don't make it?
Yes.
Like,
And it is hard when you have to, build your clientele. And that's why I say it's so important to get invested in a good salon. Being able to work at Mirage was like night and day difference. I mean, when I had a slow day at my old job, like it was days without clients, right? I never had that coming to Mirage. Being able to go there and having them help you get established, give you the education, right? Help advertise you, all of that. That made a huge difference. And not everyone gets that. If I would have stayed where I was, I would not have still been in hair.
Really?
Yeah. And
That makes drastic, huh?
it was just hard, right? You weren't getting your clientele built up, things like that. You were doing different things. It was just hard. And I guess, you guys know that you can be in the same field, but be at different places and not have the same outcome.
Oh yeah, makes a big difference.
Certain fits just work better.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so switching over to Mirage was amazing, income wise, support wise, just even the people I worked with, all of that stuff. It was a good fit. And you do have to really find where's your calling at, where's your fit at, like in any place.
Yeah, 100%. This is going to be kind of the same as the question before, but a little bit differently because it's not just to you. What
Okay.
advice would you give someone who is trying to get into the industry now?
Get established in a good salon, right? And don't be afraid to ask questions. You know, when I first worked, it was like, oh, you know, don't ask. You had to have it figured out, dude. It's all right to ask questions.
Nobody's
Even
got it
now, I'll be
figured
like,
out.
hey, you know, hey, I have a quick question. I'm thinking of doing this and this formulation. Should I use this? Should I do that? You know, it's nice to have that to bounce it
If
off.
you stop learning, you're never going to grow.
Correct.
Yeah.
So get established in a good salon, and it's okay to say no, right?
Mhm.
Because I think we get to the point is like, oh, I can't not take this client because I'm building up and I'm doing this. And sometimes in the long run, it hurts you, right? Because now this didn't turn out. And no one ever talks about good experience. Everyone talks about
Oh, I say that
bad
all
experience
the time.
all the time. And so, like, it's okay to say no.
I talk about that all the time. I just had this conversation with somebody the other day. I said I can do so many things in my industry, and the one time I screw something up is when it gets talked about.
Yeah, 110%.
Even on the podcast, we
Well,
can do so many great things, and then we say one thing wrong, and it's like, oh man, they're cancel them.
Well, and not everyone is going to like you. And I think you just have to understand that.
Yeah.
We were in like a meeting thing, and he put it this way: there's 25% of the people that are going to like you, 25% of the people that are going to hate you, 25% of the people that like you that can be talked into not liking you, and 25% of the people that don't like you that can be talked into liking you.
Huh.
So,
Never heard it put quite that way.
but
yeah.
but it's true. Like, it's okay. Not everyone's going to like you. You
Yep.
don't have to be everyone's best friend.
Right.
It's fine.
That's one piece of advice I would go back and give myself a long time
Oh,
ago.
yeah.
That yeah. So that is all the really main questions I had about you yourself. Is there anything else that we maybe didn't touch on about the hair stuff, or anything about you that we maybe didn't touch on? There was a lot there I didn't even know. So
I'm trying to.
anything you want to get out to the world, the people, before we go further into the other questions?
I don't know. I'm not good with that stuff. I just talk.
Well, that's why I asked such broad questions, so that other things can come up. But
with it.
yeah, I just didn't know if
Um,
there's something.
You know,
unique
like I said,
about
when it
you
comes
or-
back to your family, like I said, find the right person, get married, get established.
Get
and-
married before you have kids. Is that what you're trying to say? You trying to give me a little dig
no,
there?
but I
Oh.
mean, like so many people think you have to test the waters, right? We have to
Yeah.
go here, we have to go there, we have to do all this.
Yeah.
No, like, just go with it and not worry about what's going on everywhere else.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I think
And do what's right for you. Don't think because this person has something you need it, right?
correct. And I think like nowadays we're very all about me. What makes me happy? I don't want to do this because I don't like that. Suck it up. Sometimes life sucks. It's not all about you. Like, remember, you're a team. Same with your family. Well, you know, I don't want to do this for my kids, or I don't want to do that because then I can't do this. You know what? Fine. Suck it up. It's when you have your kids and you're raising them, focus about your kids, right? You're not always, like you said, going to do all the vacations and all that stuff.
Yeah, we chose businesses and podcasts over vacations.
Yeah, but that's okay. Like,
Yeah.
and not everyone's a vacation person.
Yeah. Turns out I'm scared to fly nowadays, so
Well, why is that? No.
it's for different reasons now than it was 2 years ago. But yeah, so
Yeah.
I know we were just talking about that tonight actually, and like that's a little too
I
far.
never
to do.
picked up what you were talking about. Like that went right over my head.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why I forgot about that. I was
That's
just like,
why.
I thought you were talking about money or time. I was like,
Had nothing to do with
that's
money or
24
time.
hours, dude. No, I completely forgot about. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Turns out planes are falling out of
planes
the sky.
are falling out of the
like,
sky and shit happens. It is whatever.
um,
I look at it as like if it's my time to go, it's my time to go. So we'll just
Yeah, see?
don't be on my plane.
I try to avoid Final Destination happenings. So
Dude,
I'm
I
not gonna drive behind a log truck purposely.
So I was coming back from state basketball Thursday, and there was a semi with logs on the back of it. And I told my kids, I'm like, Mom does not like to drive behind him. You just don't ever drive behind vehicles that have it. And they're like, why? I'm like, just don't. Just don't do it.
I will speed. I'll get a speeding ticket to go around them.
Literally,
100%.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
Even, like-
usually speeding anyway, so I'm never really behind anything.
Yeah.
But it never crosses my mind. I don't care.
Jesus.
The amount of people that have never seen Final Destination.
Well, I've seen it.
It's
It just
sad.
doesn't-
Like tanning beds, right? You're
Oh, yeah.
scared to tan. Like, I'm going to be honest, even having to like clean out my garbage disposal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that scares me because of that movie.
I literally won't. I will not stick my hand in one.
I know. You're
Ever.
like, "Ugh."
Won't do it.
Yeah.
Don't care.
I won't do it. And it has nothing to do with Final Destination.
Yeah, there's a lot
I
of
just
things.
don't like to do
It's
it.
probably why I'm so stressed all the time. Is every little thing is like, oh, this could happen. This could happen.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the kids. The kids hate me because I'm always like, don't do that. You could. This could happen to you. Don't do this because this could happen to you.
I do warn the kids about that. Like, don't jump off. You can do this. But then it's like they did it and get hurt. And it's like, well,
Told you.
I told you not to.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I tell you this, it's not to be rude. It's because I don't want this or this to
Yeah.
happen.
The
It's
good
just-
news is your body is young enough. You'll heal.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
I can't do that.
fine.
It just turns out anywhere we go, like anytime I'm doing anything, walking, doing anything, my mind is going through like 100 different scenarios of what could be
Okay,
happening around
so
me.
I always think some of that is normal, but then people are like, no, that's not normal. Like,
Obviously, it's not normal because he doesn't do it. There's
Like-
a bunch of people I know
I
that
do
doesn't
certain
do it.
things.
after you have a baby and you're walking down the steps and you're like, oh my God, what if I slip down the steps with this baby in my hand?
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
What if I'm driving and I doze off for a split second and I ram into a semi
had
and I kill my whole
Oh,
family?
I think about that
I've had
all
concerns
the time.
in my head of my kids sleepwalking and stabbing me in my sleep. Stuff like
I don't
that.
go that far.
Yeah.
I've never had that.
Like
It's a fear I have.
what if they get up and try to find me and they get themselves in the garage and they can't get inside?
That too. Yeah. All that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Just so many different things. We can quit talking about that. Okay, so you good to move on to the other questions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So local election we just
Okay.
had recently. What were your thoughts on our local elections between the city and the state stuff we had around here? If you have any thoughts. If we don't have any thoughts, we can
Mixed. I mean, I think, things could always have gone a little different. I feel like no matter, for instance, mayor-wise, no matter if McKinsey or Clausen would have won, someone's always going to be mad, right? Things aren't
Mhm.
going to be done how they want it. You're
Yeah.
going to have that. Even state-wise, I definitely like to say, I like that we're conservative, things like that. So I was content in that aspect of it.
it turns out when it's that level, we can stay pretty conservative. It's just what level of conservatism
Conservative,
is
correct.
are the people that we're electing, right?
Yeah.
Or if they're a closet.
And I mean,
Right now.
and you
Right,
look
no.
at it, right? That's happened, and anywhere.
It's happening.
Yeah,
yeah.
well, yeah.
But yeah, okay.
It's frustrating, but yeah.
It's frustrating.
But I felt like there was way more attention paid to the more local races than before. But we kind of, and I harped on it, obviously, under this podcast journey we've been on. I was baffled and blown away and extremely frustrated with the primary process. And I've been that way my entire life in the state of Nebraska. I don't think Nebraskans pay attention to the primary the way they need to be paying attention.
No, I
And that's
agree.
how we end up with fake conservatives or wolves in sheep clothing.
110%. I think for so many years, people are like, oh no, they must be good, they must be right, and not actually taking that time into. My dad was one of those people like, hey, as soon as you can vote, get educated and vote, right?
Yeah.
And I'm always surprised when it's like we had however many people of voters actually come out, and you're like, that's it,
Yeah.
really?
It
I
turns
don't
out a lot of
remember.
the
I
younger
went through the
generation
numbers. I
don't
don't remember
vote.
what they were.
Don't
Yeah.
want to vote. Don't
No,
care to vote.
then don't
care to
bitch.
get educated.
Then don't bitch,
Well.
right?
Yeah, definitely. On the federal side, now that the election's over, what are you most looking forward to going into the next 4 years?
Cleaning house.
Yeah.
in that aspect. Back and I get it, but to me, same thinking, right? Like my girls can compete safely in their only sports. Like to me, why was that even a question? Like why did we even have to write that?
But it's still being questioned. There's
And
some
still
states
being
that haven't
questioned,
complied.
still fighting against it.
Yeah. But he was going to take all your rights away. Remember, as a woman,
right.
And
As a
have you
woman,
lost
I hate
them yet?
that. I hate
How
that.
many have you lost?
Oh my gosh,
since
so,
November?
right? So
Has it been a rough
many.
few months?
So
Like-
rough. I cry. And and you have that. And I think you can have different views and still get along. I think
Yeah.
what's happened is so many people think like, oh, I'm never going to talk to this person because of this and this person because of this, or unfriend me if you like
Yeah.
XYZ. But I think so many, and I get this, like, oh, being young and having family, don't you want, all this progressive thinking and blah, blah, blah. No, I don't. I don't want this stuff. What I want for my family, what I want for my community is XYZ. So I'm very happy. Go
I think
Trump.
you celebrated before more
I
than we
did.
did.
I mean, how many snaps did I send you
Oh,
that night?
a million. And that's like the only ones I ever get.
I know. Sorry. Shit. You
Always
sent
when it
me
comes
another
to
snap,
election year, I
Right.
knew exactly what it was going to be.
Yeah. No, I am pleased with how it turned out. I feel like Trump can't take a shit and have it be criticized.
Well,
Right.
yeah.
Everything is criticized. So you're going to have people that no matter what, no matter how good is done right now with how Republicans are taking lead, it's going to be horrible, right? They're going to try
Yeah.
to find some way to twist it and XYZ.
Yeah.
And yet still, say this person was a better choice, or, when we had Biden in office, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, really?
Do you think that the Trump administration coming in will actually be able to accomplish the cleaning and all the stuff that they're setting out to do?
Yes, because Trump's not out any, right? He can't run again.
Mhm.
What is he going to lose? He doesn't have to please anyone. So he's going to get done what needs to be done. Look at our borders already. We went from 2,600 people coming over in a day to basically nothing.
Mhm. And he's still not happy with the results.
Correct.
Well, it's because we're not anywhere where we need to be.
Right.
Like if we were on this pace for deportations, we're at like 1.5 million by the time 4 years is over, and that's
Right.
not good.
Right.
And I think what
Of
people
30
forget,
million
like
people.
you can go back to Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and all them talking about mass deportation. Everyone has said it. We
Barack-
need this. We need that.
They called Barack Obama the deporter in chief.
Yep.
Like that was
Correct.
literally his nickname,
Correct.
deporter in
Yep.
chief.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that's
Were
what
you-
people don't.
Were
they
you
just-
okay with adding some of the people from the other side, like RFK, Tulsi Gabbard?
I think so. Yeah. I think this time around, it sucked, obviously, that he didn't win back to back, but I feel like by that happening, it kind of opened his eyes on who do I really want in my circle, who's really for me,
Yeah.
who's going to be the better choice to make XYZ.
We think it was better he didn't win, and that things got so
110%.
crazy that it did that it opened up more people's eyes, and he's now in a spot where he can put together a crack team of people that are going to actually get some stuff done.
Oh, yes. And I think it's crazy is like, the guy was almost killed twice, right? And it was just brushed off. Well, glass really got his ear. It wasn't that close.
They're still
Or
trying
they
to say that was all made
set
up.
up. Oh yeah, that
Yeah.
that was one thing in Germany. Someone's like, I think he hired these people to try to do it, so people would vote and say, "Oh, poor Trump," and you're like, okay,
That's
I'm not
wild.
going to take any. Yeah, we're not going to listen to conspiracy theories about dictator-ish people from
Right.
anybody in Germany.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I get it. You guys, you just pipe down. You don't have much room to talk for a minute. Like, let
Yeah.
us go.
Yeah.
Let us make our own mistakes.
Anything else you want to talk about politics at all? That was kind
Um,
of the questions I had. We've been trying to keep this podcast a little less questions on that, but you can speak.
I think it's funny that a lot of people, because I am a mother of daughters, right? I'm a girl, I'm all this, that they would think you would be more the other way, right? We need our rights, we need all this. And it's like, what are you talking about?
Well, it turns out you're smart enough to know that you weren't losing them anyway.
Correct.
I really don't understand that concept of no rights. Like
Go-
it literally, I can't. My brain doesn't wrap around how you think you've lost. Like women lose rights under Republicans. I don't get it. I really don't get it.
Go to Iraq, Iran, those different places. Tell me
Yeah.
the rights they have.
Yeah,
They don't.
any Muslim country,
There's still property.
not just
Well,
still
and-
property.
any Muslim country.
Correct. And if you, and this is just me, if you're going over there and you're saying, I'm this, I'm that, I'm a whatever, identify as this, what do you think is going to happen when you're over there?
Yeah.
You're going to be drugged behind a vehicle. You're going to be hung. You're going to be shot, right? So when people say we have it so bad, we have no rights, I just don't understand. I don't get it.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel you're even a little more right leaning than me.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
On it.
Crazy to think. Now we're gonna play a little game called Would You Rather.
Okay.
Have you seen any of these yet on the shows?
Bits and pieces,
Okay,
but
so these are all brand new questions.
Okay.
I got us brand new questions for yours because Vance always gives me crap that we don't
I
have.
don't give a
brand new
crap.
questions.
I just forget which way I went every time.
So these are all brand new. So we have 10 of them.
Okay.
And we'll go through them. Would you rather always feel understood or always feel appreciated?
Appreciated.
Why?
Probably more of the emotional aspect of it, right? Like you feel good when you do something. It's like, oh, I appreciate this. I'm glad you did this. I mean, yeah, that's what I'd put.
I went with understood on this one when I first read it because sometimes I have a hard time explaining my thoughts. It would be nice if people would completely understand the point I'm trying to get across. So that's kind of why I went that way.
Oh, I understood 100% to me because there's nothing that makes me more mad when I think that I'm explaining clearly and somebody isn't picking it up.
Yeah.
And it's like it's frustrating it's
Yeah.
a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
So understood for sure.
Would you rather wake up? Okay, have you seen the movies Freaky Friday and Groundhog Day? You know the concept of both of those?
Yes.
So this is, would you rather wake up in Freaky Friday or Groundhog Day?
Groundhog Day.
Yeah, you want to keep repeating?
Yeah. Think of all the stuff you could do.
And then again, and then again.
And then again and again.
I'm going Freaky Friday, I think. I couldn't do the same. I'm going to go Freaky
switch
Friday.
bodies?
Yeah, I think I'm going to try that.
I was torn on this one. I'll probably go with
It's
Freaky
tough.
Friday too. I don't know if
That's
I'd
a
want to
really
keep
tough one.
looping the same day.
Yeah, but if you loop it, I mean, like you can find ways to help people, right?
Right, but you only have 24 hours. You can only do so many things in 24 hours. And then,
there-
and then whatever you did,
Okay, so Freaky
then whatever
Friday.
you
If you look at Freaky
did,
Friday, what if you
loops
like?
back.
What if you switch bodies with someone who's 100 years old? Well, shit.
Well,
No.
yeah, I
Well,
suppose.
then it only happens for a few years and you're
Yeah.
good.
I don't know. That's a tough one.
I mean, that's what it'd be like. Who would you have to switch bodies with? I think that would make it.
Well, what's the movie? It's the mom and daughter, right?
It's mom and daughter, right? Isn't it?
Isn't that what
I think
Freaky-
there's multiple.
Well, but there's-
There's
yeah,
different
there's
types. There's
so
like there's
many.
ones where the twins switch, and then there's ones where I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm still probably gonna go that way. There isn't there like a Groundhog Day type movie that I don't remember who was in it, but I've seen it like on TikTok. But the guy he just
I don't have
like
TikTok.
tries to kill himself all the time, and then like somebody else he gave it to somebody else, and then they like
Maybe.
try to kill themselves a bunch of times.
There's been a lot of different types. Like the original Groundhog's Day is more lighthearted
Yeah.
type, but then there's also a movie with Tom Cruise where they relive a battle.
Yep. That one.
Oh
every
yeah,
day.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, then that I guess that would be hard. Are you reliving the best day of your life or the worst day of your life?
Right. There's another question that's going to happen.
Oh, okay.
Related to that here in a minute. Would you rather be recognized for your intelligence or your kindness?
Kindness.
I'm intelligence.
I had a tough one with this one too. I think I would go with intelligence on this one as well. Kind of goes with the understood thing. Maybe if I'm more recognized for my intelligence, people will understand more of what I'm saying.
I
Influence a little more, maybe.
I would like to hear a lot of answers to this one because this question seems like a gender role question.
Well,
I think the first one kind of seemed that way too when we first
With
did
it.
it too.
well, and I think of like some of these people that are super, super smart, but they're assholes, right? Who wants to
Right.
be with that type of person?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
kind of
I'm an asshole.
You
Yeah.
have to ask
I
Eileen
mean-
that question.
But I mean, like, you get these people who's like, oh, I'm so smart, I can't talk to you, I can't do whatever. Like, I'd
those
rather
type of
be
people.
like, okay, and I look at it as one day, and maybe this is morbid, at my funeral, what do I want people to say? Right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you were really, really smart, but man, they were an asshole.
But
Versus like, they were so kind, they were so generous, they always did this. Like,
Yeah.
3 generations down the road, which one's remembered?
in my books,
No, overall. Well, but
Definitely.
generally the intelligence is going to be passed down more often than hey, this person was just kind.
I don't know. I've heard a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
don't know
Unless
about
you're
that.
Both
the
sides.
kindest of kindness.
Yeah. Depends if it's being passed down in like a family situation or like through population. Like general
what about
population.
Mother Teresa?
Well,
Right?
But for one Mother Teresa, there's 50 other one. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how to explain what I'm trying. Like
this is where he wants his understood piece.
a little bit.
You just see a lot more people go down in history and are remembered for what they did on the intelligence side than on the kindness
And
side.
they could be kind. Some of the smartest people, inventors, everything, they could have been kind, but you don't know that
Yeah.
because they were known for
I feel like in that aspect of being kind, like I can affect more people's life positively.
Well,
I get
you're
that.
here. Well,
Yeah, I get that.
I don't argue that at all.
I get that. Would you rather have more time or more energy?
Time.
I would say time as well.
Energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because have you seen that one where like my first day goes from midnight to 6 o'clock. My next one goes from 6 o'clock to noon. My next one goes from noon to 6.
so
My next
asinine.
one goes 6 to
I get
noon.
6 more days.
I've had
to your
4
one.
days in your one day.
You ever seen that clip?
I have not.
It's
I have not.
that's the dumbest
but do
thing.
you think like from a parent's point of view,
Yeah.
that's why we look at time?
I look at that, or like I don't feel like I've maybe accomplished what I wanted to in life at the age that I am too. So I'd like more time to be able to like. I already see myself on the downhill slide of like I have passed the years where I can really make an effect on society or whatever. But then I think back like I'm really not. You know, we just started this podcast a year ago. We influenced a lot with that with the election. So maybe I haven't lost that, but time I think could go with the kid
I
thing.
mean, look at my grandma. She'll be 101 next month.
I ain't making
right.
it that far. I can tell you that.
But how do you know, right? So it's like she's lived a great life. She was a hard worker. She was strong in her faith. She was great for her community, all of that.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter. And she, for back then, she was 30 when she got married, and my grandpa was 50. You know, 30 back then, she was old. She was 31 and
middle-aged,
yeah.
37
Yeah.
having kids.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Surprised there wasn't any complications or anything at that age.
Yeah, but I mean, I was 30.
I just meant
Three-
with technology.
Technology, yeah. But I
Yeah.
mean, like, I just think it was just differently looked at.
Yeah, that's interesting. But I could see where you're getting with that with the kids, maybe at the time thing. I don't know. It's an interesting one. Would you rather be able to control the weather or traffic? The traffic one maybe doesn't always make it back to Norfolk, but
Dep-
maybe in a bigger city.
I guess it would probably depend on where I'd live. I would say, and this is maybe just the area I am, I would say weather to help like your farmers and all of that, right? Like being able to get the moisture when needed, you know, be able to get the heat when needed. Don't let a big hailstorm go through.
I went with weather too. I don't mind traffic sometimes.
I think I'm with her.
Would you rather have unlimited knowledge or unlimited creativity? I went with knowledge on this one. I like creativeness, but I think having the knowledge, you could maybe end up.
Knowledge
creative.
would be good. It'd be hard because, like, yeah, knowledge is good, but then sometimes you find out things you don't want to find out, and that's not always a pleasant thing either.
So you don't like that aspect of that? See,
I mean,
I'm okay with getting information that's not good.
I'm okay with that. I mean, but like,
Some people aren't though. Some people like, why'd you tell me that? Why?
like, okay, defined, and once again, maybe this is morbid. Like, oh, you have unlimited knowledge. Oh, my kid's gonna die in 3 years.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
do you really want to know that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people find that out though with cancer and stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
which is true. That would be tough. I mean, and we've had, you know, not anything crazy, but different medical stuff with our kids before, and that was hard. And I think, like, gosh, how do people do it that have to do X, Y, Z?
right.
It'd be hard.
What are your thoughts?
I want to say knowledge because I love learning.
Learning.
But I am not creative, and I wish I was creative. Like in my brain, I think I like we've talked about this before. Like you can come up with an idea, and like I can once you give me the main thing, then we can talk it through, and I can get there. But
Once I give you the blueprint, you have an idea.
then I have an idea, but I can't get to that blueprint part of it. Like I wish I could do that, but I would rather still learn more. I think I could I haven't learned how to do it yet, so I don't think I can.
But I feel
learn
like
more.
everyone's creative in their own way. Like I am creative with hair, but like you see the people like an interior designer, there's no way I could say this, and this. Like in my word, I say I'm not creative, but someone's like, well, yeah, you're creative because you can do this. Well, yeah, I just don't look at it that way.
Yeah.
Not many people think they're creative in the industry that they're in or the things that they do, even though they may be, and that's why they're there in the first place. They don't see themselves as being creative in that space.
Yeah.
Usually. Even some artists don't feel like they're creative
which is
enough.
asinine. Yeah. No, I like learning.
Gotcha. Would you rather know what the happiest, so this goes back to would you rather know what the happiest day of your life will be or the worst day of your life will be
Worst.
ahead of time?
Worst day of your life.
Why?
To try to prepare yourself.
What if it's your death?
So be it. I know my maker.
Yeah.
I don't think that I don't think death would be the worst day of your life.
No.
No. That's the first thing that came to mind.
I think,
Losing a child or,
yes.
I don't know.
And you'd never be prepared for it, but I think like better knowing that. And maybe this is dumb. Okay, like I love not knowing what I was having, right? Because I loved that
We
excitement.
enjoyed that too.
It was so enjoyable not knowing. So like to me, like, oh, I don't want to know my happiest day. I want to experience my happiest day.
What if knowing, let's say if it goes to like a kid's death, what if knowing your child's death makes you not appreciate the time that you're getting to spend up until that point? You're more cautious. You don't get to have the experiences because you're always knowing this is going to happen. Do you think you'd want to know that?
But look at it this way. Okay, my happiest day is here. Nothing else good is going to happen. Nothing else is going to live up to this moment, right?
To a degree. So I looked at it kind of where he went with it. If you know your worst day of your life is going to be, you have now made your worst day every single day until that point.
Yeah, that's kind of how I'm seeing it too.
Because you're always going to think
I'm
about
okay
it.
with knowing
So
I've
I'm
already
always
had
gonna-
my
I wanna go
happiest day.
happiest.
Because you're still going to have happy days, just not the happiest day. Right?
And maybe that's how my brain is very different.
Yeah.
Like, you know, this scenario, it is what it is. You can't change it. So you just accept it, right?
You don't think you would do things differently knowing that a child's going to die in a year?
I think the human brain barters in weird ways.
Yes, you would. But I feel like, okay, let's say I know my kid is going to die in a year, I'm going to treasure each moment more.
Okay. See, I'd go back to where my mind goes, oh, this is going to, I need to try to prevent this, or so I wouldn't spend the time that I could have had, probably, is where my mind would go.
You know, and I think in anything you can do that. I should have done this, should have done more of that. I don't know. So
Interesting.
no, I'd rather know worst day.
Got it.
The only way I want to know the worst day if it's already happened. Then I know I don't have anything coming up
Now you're just cheating
because I've
the
already
system.
survived it. We've determined we can cheat
I know.
every single time. We've done
I
it
know.
since we've started this.
Would you rather never be able to show emotions or never be able to hide them? This is a tough one.
I am thinking about like having my kids now. If I could never show them emotion, like how much I love them, things like that, I think that would be really hard. Versus them like, hey, I can't hide that I'm pissed at you, or I can't hide this, but at least you know them.
No.
Because I think you talk to people, it's like, oh, I was never showed emotion. I was never showed this. So I guess I would rather not be able to hide my emotions, which may sometimes get you in a sticky situation, versus never being able to show them.
I get it. I went kind of back and forth because a lot of times I don't show a lot of emotion in general.
What?
Yeah. But when I do, it's kind of wild. So I think I'm okay with not being able to hold my emotions back. I think is the way I'm going to go on that one.
I mean, I got resting bitch face, so that would go away, is what we're saying?
Depending on which side you go. If you want to keep the resting bitch face but never be able to show any emotions, you could go with the never be able to show any emotions.
Then we just keep on keeping on.
Okay, so like now you have your first kid, but you're just like stone faced.
Yeah, but then you're never gonna be able to laugh. You're never gonna be able to.
Well, it's just I will laugh. Nobody's gonna see I'm laughing.
Nobody's gonna know how pissed off you are.
Could be better
You'll never be able
sometimes.
to yell at a TV again.
See, and like that's why I put myself in scenario. Like, how would your spouse feel?
Actually, might be better TV watching for people around me.
What did you say?
I was like, how would you like for your spouse, right? If you could never show emotion, like how much you love them, how
It
sad
sounds
you
like
are,
a
how hurt you
them
are.
problem.
Oh,
But if you
boy,
can't-
wait till you get married.
You can't show it on your face, but you could probably still speak it.
Yeah.
You could still say a sentence, but you'd say it in the most straight face with no smirk, no eye movement, no nothing. So it'd be like a computer saying,
so sorry.
"I love you."
Yeah.
I think
I'm gonna
I'm gonna go the other way. I'm gonna just
the emoji movie, meh.
Yeah, meh,
Right.
meh, meh. That was a good question. Would you rather? There's two left.
Okay.
Would you rather fight 100 duck-sized elephants or one elephant-sized duck?
I would rather fight. Hear me out.
I almost took this one out. but I
One
don't know.
elephant-sized duck.
Okay.
Because, okay, if you're by yourself, you're manning one out, another one's coming behind you, right? At least when you're attacking the one, you know what you have to do, right? You know how far you are. Hey, I got its leg off. I only have 3 more to go, or whatever, right? Or what? Well,
3
duck,
more?
2.
Is there
Two, sorry.
What
I'm
kind of
thinking
ducks
elephant.
are you messing around with
It's
here?
the
I don't know.
homeschool.
These-
Don't homeschool. No, I would rather just have one. I look in this scenario. I'd rather have one big problem than 100 little problems.
That's a big duck.
That's a big duck. That's a big. They could just peck you right up.
Yeah, I'm going with 100 little elephants.
I think so too.
Have you ever watched the Birds movie? What if 100 little beaks?
They're not.
Peck you to
It's
death.
elephants. They're
Okay.
duck-sized elephants.
No, I still wouldn't. Okay, they got little tusks.
Yeah, I'm stepping
Yeah,
on
but
them.
that's gonna be like a mosquito bite.
They're still sharp.
Nah,
How do
maybe,
you
maybe
know?
a little
How do
sharp. Ducks are pretty.
You don't
big.
know how sharp they are.
Ducks are pretty big.
Ducks are pretty big.
They'd be pretty decent sized tusks.
I mean, it's still going to be pretty
They're
good.
gonna be the size of my foot. I'm gonna stomp them down.
oh, ducks pretty good sized.
They are.
I'm
I
not
don't know.
afraid of them.
This was a tough one.
They can't fly at you.
I'm
A
prob-
duck.
I'm
If it was
definitely-
100,
No.
I would be more worried of 100 vicious ducks than 100 duck-sized elephants.
I don't know. I think I'm gonna go with the 100 elephant.
100
size-
elephant-sized
or
ducks
duck-sized elephants.
versus an
Duck-sized
elephant-sized duck.
elephant.
Yeah, I think so.
No,
You're still going with the,
I'm still gonna go
the
with
giant
that.
ass duck.
That's a big ass
a
duck.
giant ass duck, but it's going to be still easier. You have one target.
I don't know. Just gonna pluck its feathers and have some.
Well, you didn't say attacked wise. I could have a gun.
I suppose.
Yeah,
Well, I could have a gun with 100 elephants too.
you could. But the duck, then you could eat good, right? Have a big feast. No,
Okay. Would you rather live in a world where everyone is overly polite or overly honest? I already know where I'm going on this one.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm going overly honest.
Yeah.
That's right where I'm at.
100%.
I hate fake politeness.
Mhm.
Yeah, overly polite. We can go to Canada.
Yeah, nothing makes me more mad than fake polite.
Yeah, I agree.
Just or virtue signaling, or not even fake polite. Just
Fake.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
just fake in
so
general.
Yeah.
it just seems disingenuine.
Cool. Well, that's through all of them. We're at the end of the show already.
There we go.
It was a long combo. It was good.
Good.
I liked it. What do you think? First time on.
It was good. I'm going to be honest. I was nervous, but like I said, I like to talk. I hate talking in front of people.
Everybody
but it
gets
didn't-
nervous until they get going. About
Get
5
going.
minutes in.
Now you're thinking of different scenarios. What should I have said? What should I have done this?
It's all right. That's all right. So tell all the listeners where they can find you.
I work at Mirage Salon and MedSpa here in Norfolk, 2208 Taylor Avenue. You can give us a call at 402-371-0307 for all of your needs.
That was so
Perfect.
professional.
So
Goodness.
professional, right?
I'll have to have you start doing all of our ads for us.
There you go.
Big thanks to my co-host Vance Neidig. Without him, the show would not be what it is. Huge thanks to Bea. We really appreciate you making time to away from the family to be with us today.
Yes, and thank you for my husband for
Oh yeah,
manning
thanks
the
Kyle
kids.
for manning the
Yes.
kids for a couple hours.
a couple hours. So.
Keep on the lookout for more great episodes, and we'll see you next week.